Chapter 712. Brother Chu, you have a family? How is that possible? I feel like I've fallen out of love. Who would be so lucky to become Brother Chu's Taoist partner? Sob, why can't it be me? No, Brother Chu, you belong to everyone. When the red-robed guards heard that Chu Kuangren had a family, all of them wanted to cry but no tears came out. When Yin Honghua heard that, her heart trembled. She was a little upset too, but she took a deep breath and said, "That's good too. Now I can stop thinking about him and focus on my cultivation." Her Taoist core was strong, and she soon broke free from her depressed mood. The other red-robed guards did not have such a strong Taoist core, so they were both envious and resentful of Chu Kuangren's unknown Taoist partner. Everyone crowded around him and started asking questions at once. "Brother Chu, what's your Taoist partner's name? Is she as beautiful as our Major General? Where is she now? Fellow Chu, don't tell me you deliberately made this up to deceive us?" Chu Kuangren was getting a headache from the series of questions. Suddenly, he felt a wave of energy coming from afar, and his eyes lit up. This energy is a supreme chaos spirit source. He was overjoyed. After all the chaos spirit sources that he had found in the past few days were of the middle and lower tier. There was not a single top-tier chaos spirit source. Not to mention this supreme chaos spirit source. If he had a supreme chaos spirit source, his cultivation level might not be able to break through to the middle-level heavenly honorable realm, but it would at least allow him to take a big leap from the lower-level heavenly honorable realm. However, there are many other energies around this supreme chaos spirit source. "Someone is fighting," Chu Kuangren murmured. He said to Yin Honghua and the red-robed guards, "There's movement over there. I'll go check it out. Be careful." He immediately used the space transportation technique and disappeared from where he stood. The remaining red-clothed guards sighed in despair. What a good man. Too bad he's not mine. Inside a mountain range on the 7th asteroid, a group of cultivators was engaged in a fierce battle. The two parties involved in the battle were the cultivators of the Firmament Star's human tribe and the Blood tribe. At the center of the battlefield, on top of a mountain peak, there was a 2-meter-tall gray stone with wisps of chaotic energy circulating around it. "Commander, let's retreat first," a Firmament Star cultivator said to a middle-aged man. The burly man held a long sword in his hand as he glanced at the chaotic spiritual source on the mountain peak with an unwilling look in his eyes. "This won't do. I must obtain this spiritual origin of chaos. I'll kill anyone who dares to retreat." The middle-aged man roared. Beside him, the cultivator gnashed his teeth. "But the vampires have the upper hand. Our brothers won't be able to hold on for much longer. You fellows hold on for now. I will go get the chaos spiritual essence. After that, we will retreat." After saying that, the middle-aged man charged towards the chaos spiritual essence. Damn this greedy commander. The cultivator cursed inwardly, but there was nothing he could do to stop him. Seeing that more and more of his brothers were being killed and injured by the Blood tribe, he let out a loud roar and charged into the crowd. The middle-aged man rushed towards the chaos spirit source. As he got closer and closer, he saw a blood-red figure in front of him. The blood-red figure threw a punch, and in the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man was sent flying hundreds of feet away. Then he stood on top of the chaos spiritual essence. It was an extremely handsome Blood tribe man. He wore a blood-red armor and held a dark red long-handled broadsword in his hand. "Human Heavenly Venerable, if you want this chaos spiritual essence, you'll have to ask for my opinion first." The Blood tribe man smiled playfully. "**, it's a Blood tribe Heavenly Venerable." The middle-aged man's face darkened. Without further ado, the Emperor's chi on his body surged, and Taoist markings spread out, intertwining in the void and forming a small world. The Blood tribe man chuckled and opened his own small world. The two small worlds collided, and the void was instantly distorted. Kill. Both of their cultivation levels were almost the same. Even if they used their small worlds, they would not be able to suppress the other. Seeing this, the middle-aged man rushed out. The long sword in his hand gathered Emperor's chi Taoist markings, and he slashed out a huge sword chi that was thousands of feet long. Within the sword chi, the Emperor's chi and Taoist markings flowed, and its power was majestic. "Good one." The Blood tribe man chuckled and also slashed out with his sword. The blood-colored sword light and sword chi intertwined. It was the clash of Emperor's chi against Emperor's chi, and Taoist markings against Taoist markings. The entire void collapsed and the surrounding mountains began to crumble. The chaos spiritual essence also flew out and fell in the distance. Seeing this, the middle-aged man wanted to snatch it, but he was blocked by the Blood tribe man. Helpless, he could only fight again. And not far away, the other cultivators were also fighting more and more fiercely. The human side in the sky was already at a disadvantage, and the middle-aged man, as the leader, was entangled by the blood tribe Heavenly Venerable and could not return to help. Gradually, the human side suffered more and more casualties. Originally, they still had the strength to retreat, but now they could only be surrounded by the blood tribe, struggling to hold on. Damn it, damn it. The middle-aged man kept swinging his sword, but no matter what he did, he could not do anything to the blood tribe man opposite him. Haha, foolish guy, if you did not covet this chaos spiritual essence and retreated with the others, you could still live. But now you have no chance. The blood tribe man laughed. A powerful force erupted from his body, and then he slashed out with his sword. The blood-colored sword light was like a crescent moon that cut through the void, and the middle-aged man was sent flying hundreds of feet away. Puff! The middle-aged man's emperor body was injured, and he directly vomited blood. He looked at the blood tribe man in disbelief. Middle-level Heavenly Venerable. You are actually a middle-level Heavenly Venerable cultivator. That's right, I was playing with you just now. Otherwise, if I revealed my cultivation from the beginning, you would have been scared away. Then how could I catch all of you in one fell swoop? The blood tribe man sneered. The rest of the humans in the sky below were completely in despair. A middle-level Heavenly Venerable and so many blood tribe people around them, even if they did not suffer any injuries, they would not be able to win. Not to mention that there were only a few defeated soldiers left. This pig-headed leader, I told him to retreat long ago, but he was blinded by that chaos spiritual essence and could not see the situation clearly. The cultivators who asked to retreat earlier cursed. On the battlefield, a good leader was very important because his decisions often concerned the lives of countless soldiers. Obviously, these people did not have a good leader. Now you can all die. The blood tribe man let out a soft roar, and the small realm energy on his body suddenly increased, instantly suppressing the middle-aged man in front of him. However, just when he was about to kill the middle-aged man in one fell swoop, a spatial fluctuation suddenly appeared in the void. A figure suddenly appeared on the battlefield and stood beside the chaos spiritual essence. In front of everyone, that person kept the chaos spiritual essence into his yin and yang ring. This scene caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Who is this person? How did he appear here? These two questions popped up in everyone's mind at the same time. When the blood tribe man saw who it was, a cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. No matter who you are, as long as you are a firmament star cultivator, you are a cultivator of my blood tribe. Die. The blood tribe man swung his sword at Chu Kuangren from afar. Chapter 7:13. The blood-red saber light cut through the void, splitting the void. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren channeled his emperor's chi and unleashed a palm attack. The majestic emperor's chi transformed into a giant golden palm with Buddhist light circulating around it. With a loud bang, the surrounding earth and rocks flew into the air and the ground cracked. Chu Kuangren narrowed his eyes and looked at the blood tribe male not far away. Mid-level Empyrean. There was a hint of eagerness in his eyes. This was the first time he had fought against a middle-level Heavenly Venerable. Another Empyrean. The blood tribe man's expression changed slightly, and a hint of solemnity appeared on his face. Meanwhile, the middle-aged man beside him wore an expression of joy. Save me, fellow Taoist. If you want to save him? No way. Kill them all. The blood tribe man shouted at the rest of the blood tribe cultivators. Yes. The blood clan cultivators charged at the remaining cultivators in a frenzy. The blood clan man also charged toward the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression changed, and he clenched his teeth as he resisted with all his might. Fellow Taoist, I'm the leader of the sword race. Save me first. The middle-aged man shouted. A strange look flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes when he heard that. Commander of the sword race? What a coincidence to be able to meet someone from the sword race here. However, these were not his criteria for saving people. He saw that the middle-aged burly man, the commander of the sword race, was still able to hold on for a while even though he was surrounded by perils. On the other hand, the rest of the cultivators were already in imminent danger under the siege of a group of blood tribe cultivators, so he chose to save the others first. In a flash he appeared in the crowd. With a thought, a huge silver-white rune appeared out of thin air. It was the Space Freeze rune. Space Freeze runes descended from the sky, sealing the space within a radius of several hundred li. All cultivators below the monarch realm felt their movements being greatly restricted. Following that, surges of sword chi shot out from Chu Kuangren's body and turned into sword chi clones that killed the blood tribe cultivators one by one. Tens of thousands of Blood Tribe cultivators had fallen with just a wave of his hand. Everyone's crisis had been resolved. In the end, Chu Kuangren looked at the battle between the swordsman and the Blood Tribe leader. The swordsman's body was already riddled with several saber wounds, and blood was gushing out like a fountain. He could be killed at any time. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and stood in the middle of the battle. The power of two small worlds, one strong and one weak, crushed towards him. Unlock your little world. Chu Kuangren said to the swordsman tribe leader. What? You think you're a hindrance? Chu Kuangren frowned. Seeing that everyone was a human cultivator from the firmament, he came to their rescue. He didn't expect the other party to be so uncooperative. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to be nice to the other party. You. The sword race's commander's face sank, but he still did not release his small world. He said, the other party is a middle-level heavenly lord. Right now, I can only fight against him with my small world. If I release it, you won't be able to fight against him alone. If you don't want to undo it, that's up to you. Chu Kuangren did not bother to say anything else. He looked at the Blood Tribe male and lifted his hand to activate his Emperor's Qi Daoist mark, opening up his little world. An invisible force suddenly exploded. The clouds stopped and the wind stopped. The moment Chu Kuangren's small world opened, the other two heavenly honorable realms' small worlds instantly crumbled. Suffering from the backlash, they were sent flying and looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. This small world is so strong. Judging from his aura, he's only a lower-level heavenly honorable. Why does he have such a terrifying small world? A small world was an evolution of a heavenly honorable's Dao. The strength of a small world was closely related to one's Dao and foundation. Chu Kuangren's perfect Dao was the ultimate emperor's essence. His combat strength far surpassed others in the same realm, so his small world was naturally not something a heavenly honorable of the same realm could compare to. Even a middle-level heavenly honorable would be suppressed as long as their Dao and foundation were not as strong as Chu Kuangren's. Obviously, that was the case for the two heavenly honorables present. Retreat. After seeing Chu Kuangren's small world, the Blood Tribe male knew that he was no match for Chu Kuangren even if his cultivation level was higher. Hence, he made a quick decision and immediately fled. However, he was now inside Chu Kuangren's small world, so where could he escape to? In my small world, you have nowhere to go. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. A surge of realm energy erupted and turned into silver-white world chains that bound the Blood Tribe male. *Emenet. The Blood Tribe male let out a roar and swung his sword. It spun in the air and shattered the world chains one by one. Knowing that it would be difficult for him to escape from Chu Kuangren's small world, the Blood Tribe male's murderous intent skyrocketed, and a crazed look appeared in his eyes. Once I kill you, this small world will be gone. Blood Primal Force. Wisps of blood-colored mist rose from the corpses of the Blood Tribe members around him, sweeping toward him and entering his body. The Blood Tribe male's aura skyrocketed as he swung his sword. Undefeatable technique, universal reversal. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist suddenly slashed out. A purple sword ray shot out and locked onto the Blood Tribe male. A horrifying scene of the sun and moon reversal and the shattering of the stars appeared. The void continued to explode as large pieces of the universe collapsed. Premium mystery. Not far away, the swordsman tribe leader's eyes narrowed. A premium mystery was too rare. Even a heavenly honorable like him could only master a low-tier mystery after studying it for so many years. A premium mystery. Not many people in the entire firmament star domain's outer battlefield knew it. The moment the sword and saber clashed, the sword ray shattered. The sword ray engulfed the Blood Tribe male like a hot knife through butter. He did not even have the time to scream before he exploded into a bloody mist. After killing the Blood Tribe male, Chu Kuangren kept his small world. With a thought, he took out the remaining Blood Tribe wing bones and placed them into his yin and yang ring, waiting to exchange them for battle points when he returned to Fort 17th. Thank you for saving us, brother. Some of the rescued cultivators came up to Chu Kuangren and thanked him. The swordsman tribe leader, on the other hand, looked at Chu Kuangren from afar with a grim expression. He did not come over to thank him either. He was suppressed by Chu Kuangren's small world earlier, and the backlash from his small world had injured him quite a bit. Chu Kuangren ignored him and asked the others, "Which fort are you guys from?" "We're the swordsman tribe's private army from Fort 18. May I know your name, brother?" One of the cultivators asked curiously. "Chu Kuangren, Fort 17th, a lone soldier." Chu Kuangren replied calmly. The other cultivators' expressions did not change upon hearing that, but the swordsman tribe leader's expression changed slightly. Chu Kuangren, you're the Chu Kuangren who caused such a ruckus in the lower realm and became the swordsman tribe's enemy. Why, do you have a problem with that? Chu Kuangren glanced at him. With his current strength, he was not afraid that the swordsman tribe would continue to cause trouble for him. Humph. The swordsman tribe leader snorted but did not say anything. Although he knew that Chu Kuangren was once an enemy of the swordsman tribe, he did not dare to say anything since Chu Kuangren had just saved his life. Brother Chu. At that moment, Yin Honghua rushed over with the red-robed guards and a few others. She asked, "How's it going?" "It's almost settled," Chu Kuangren replied. "Yin Honghua. You're Yin Honghua." At that moment, one of the swordsman tribe cultivators recognized Yin Honghua and exclaimed. Chu Kuangren looked at Yin Honghua in surprise. "Looks like you're quite famous." Chapter 7:14. Yin Honghua was one of the brightest emperors in the extraterritorial battlefield. Ever since she became an emperor, she had accumulated countless battle achievements and improved at an astonishing rate. She was said to be the next Tao Lord within 1,000 years. A person like her was destined to be famous. Fortress 17 was adjacent to Fortress 18, and these sword race private soldiers came from Fortress 18, so it was reasonable for them to recognize Yin Honghua. "I didn't expect to see you here, Brother Honghua. I'm the leader of the swordsmen. Greetings." The swordsman leader's eyes lit up as he greeted her. He was a heavenly honorable, and no matter how talented Yin Honghua was, she was still just an emperor realm cultivator. The only reason he was so polite was because of the heavenly honorable Guy Saber who was behind Yin Honghua. After all, that was a fort master. Although they were both heavenly honorable cultivators, Guy Saber's strength and status were many times higher than his. They were on a completely different level. "Greetings, brother." Yin Honghua nodded. The swordsmen were considered a major force among the 81 forts in the extraterritorial battlefield. After a friendly meeting between both parties, Chu Kuangren and Yin Honghua left with the red-robed guards. Watching them leave, one of the swordsmen said enviously, "I'm so envious of Brother Chu for being able to travel with someone like Yin Honghua." "Of course. Don't you know who he is? He's a heavenly honorable, and not just any heavenly honorable at that. Even a blood tribe middle-level heavenly honorable can't fight back against him. Yeah, he's just too strong." The swordsman frowned and said, "I heard that he just became an emperor a few years ago. How did he suddenly become a heavenly honorable? His improvement is even more terrifying than Yin Honghua's. He's a ruthless man who has killed many of our swordsmen with potential. Our supreme Taoist physique was also killed by him. If he becomes an enemy of the swordsmen in the extraterritorial battlefield, he'll be a huge threat to us." The other swordsmen were dumbfounded when they heard the swordsman's words. They were cultivators of the swordsman too. However, they had never thought of him as an enemy. Although it was true that Chu Kuangren was once an enemy of the swordsman, they were now in the extraterritorial battlefield, and their priority was to deal with the blood tribe. So long as the sword clan didn't take the initiative to offend him, then he wouldn't come looking for trouble with them. Moreover, he just saved them. "You're gauging the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure." Everyone was speechless. When he returned, he should quickly change his commander. Not only was the commander stupid, but he was also selfish and narrow-minded. Following such a person, even if they didn't die, what future would they have? Everyone silently thought to themselves. "Everyone, let's rest here for a while before continuing our search for the Chaos Spiritual Spring." Damn it, that top-grade Chaos Spiritual Spring is gone just like that. However, Jian Wushuang said unwillingly. Beside him, a cultivator reminded, "Commander, a battle just happened here. Why don't we find another place to rest?" "What's there to be afraid of? Everyone is busy looking for the chaotic spiritual sources right now. Who has the time to bother with us? Besides, I'm here. What are you guys afraid of? I'm a heavenly venerate. I don't believe that we'll meet another blood tribe heavenly venerate." Jian pursed his lips. "This?" The cultivator of the sword race shook his head helplessly as his persuasion was futile. Everyone adjusted their breathing on the spot. However, after a while, a powerful aura descended from the sky and enveloped all the cultivators present. The powerful aura caught everyone off guard. "This is the blood tribe. There's even such an aura. It's a heavenly venerate." Jian's expression changed. He couldn't believe it. It couldn't be, right? He really encountered another blood tribe heavenly venerate at a time like this. His luck couldn't be that bad, right? "Oh, a heavenly venerate of the human race. Interesting. Did you guys kill all the blood tribe members here?" A Blood Tribe man with bat wings arrived at the scene. When he saw the pile of Blood Tribe corpses on the ground, his eyes flashed coldly, causing everyone present to feel as if they had fallen into an icy cavern. Beside this Blood Tribe man was an old man. This old man was a little special. The tips of his feet were touching the ground, and he didn't seem to exert any strength at all. It was as if he was floating in midair. This was the Blood Spirit Tribe of the Blood Tribe. Moreover, this Blood Spirit Tribe man was also a heavenly venerate. 2 heavenly venerates. Jian swallowed his saliva, feeling that he was simply unlucky to the max. He had just narrowly escaped death, and now he had encountered 2 Blood Tribe heavenly venerables. The heavens really didn't want him to live. We didn't kill them. Jian hurriedly said. Oh, if you didn't kill them, then where are the people who killed them? The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate asked. I'll tell you. Can you spare my life? Hey, dream on. The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate sneered and was about to attack. However, Jian shouted, the people who killed the Blood Tribe members here have a top-grade chaos spiritual source. Oh, I'm a little interested now. The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate temporarily stopped. You should know how valuable a top-grade chaos spiritual source is. I'll tell you where they are and you'll spare me. Jian gritted his teeth and said. He hadn't recovered from his injuries yet. If he fought with these 2 Blood Spirit heavenly venerates, he would definitely die. Although a top-grade chaos spiritual source is rare, it's not enough to exchange for a heavenly venerate's life. The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate said. Then what if we add Yan Honghua? Commander. The surrounding Sword Tribe cultivators instantly panicked. All of you shut up. Jian shouted coldly. Yan Honghua. Hearing this name, the 2 Blood Spirit heavenly venerates' interest was clearly piqued. Their eyes shone with incomparable killing intent. That Yan Honghua who rose to fame in recent years and improved rapidly. Yes. Interesting. Is she the one who took the top-grade chaos spiritual source? It's not her, but she's from the same path as the person who took the spiritual source. How about it? Yan Honghua and that top-grade chaos spiritual source added together should be enough to exchange for my life, right? Yes. The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate nodded. Compared to the top-grade chaos spiritual source, they were more interested in Yan Honghua. Her speed of improvement had already attracted the attention of the Blood Tribe's higher-ups. If they didn't eliminate her as soon as possible, she would definitely become a powerful enemy of the Blood Tribe. I want both of you to swear in the name of the Blood God that you won't harm me after I reveal Yan Honghua's whereabouts. Jian said as he had an idea. The Blood God was the Blood Tribe's supreme faith. Any oath made in the name of the Blood God would be obeyed to the end. How clever of you. The Blood Spirit heavenly venerate sneered. Then both of them swore in the name of the Blood God before Jian informed them of Chu Kuangren, Yan Honghua and the others' whereabouts. After the heavenly venerates left, Jian swept his gaze across the remaining cultivators and said coldly, "No one is allowed to speak of what happened today. Or else don't blame me for disregarding our friendship." Upon hearing Jian's threat, everyone's faces flushed red. Although they felt that Jian's actions were shameless, they could only swallow their anger. "I'm doing this to save all of you. Otherwise, none of us would have survived." After the threat, Jian played the emotional card with everyone to temporarily appease them. Chapter 7:15. Asteroid Number 7. Chu Kuangren, Yan Honghua, and the other red-robed guards collected a few more Chaos Soul Sources. This was already the 50th Chaos Soul Source that they had collected. Among them there was 1 Supreme-grade Chaos Soul Source, 4 top-grade Chaos Soul Sources, and 16 middle-grade Chaos Soul Sources. As for the rest, they were all low-grade. Apart from the superior-grade and superior-grade items, Chu Kuangren kept the rest of the items, while Yan Honghua and the others could freely distribute them among themselves. In any case, these middle and low-grade spirit sources were not of much use to him. A piece of top-grade jade was worth thousands of middle-grade and low-grade jade. Aside from the chaos spiritual sources, Chu Kuangren had also killed quite a number of Blood Tribe cultivators along the way, and his accumulated battle points had reached tens of thousands. Just the Heavenly Venerable from before had contributed 10,000 battle merits to him. Ordinary emperors earned 1,000 battle points each. An Empyrean, on the other hand, cost 10,000. We're talking about the chaos spirit sources of this planet. We've basically found all of them. This harvest is a little unsatisfactory. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said, even after searching the entire Seven Seas asteroid, there were only a few dozen pieces of chaos spiritual sources. Yan Honghua and the others were not disappointed. On the contrary, their harvest this time had greatly exceeded their expectations. A treasure like the Chaos Spiritual Source was hard to come by. A low-grade one was enough to make some ordinary emperors fight to the death for it. But they had dozens of pieces in their hands. With this chaotic spiritual source, I will definitely be able to break through to the greater success Emperor realm when I return. Bai Li Chuan said excitedly. She was currently in the third stage of the Emperor realm. Once she returned, she would go into seclusion and refine a low-grade chaos spiritual source. That would be enough to push her cultivation to the next level. This is all thanks to fellow Daoist Chu. If it weren't for fellow Daoist Chu's treasure-seeking technique, we wouldn't have been able to proceed so smoothly. Bai Li Shua looked at Chu Kuangren with gratitude in her eyes. The others more or less had looks of worship on their faces. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly and did not say anything. Suddenly though, he frowned and looked off into the distance. There are two powerful auras approaching. It's the blood race Empyreans. What? Why is there another blood race Empyrean? Quick, set up a hidden restriction. Everyone's expression changed. Yin Honghua immediately acted, throwing out a red veil. The veil enveloped everyone, completely concealing their auras. The two blood tribe heavenly venerables stopped in midair. Among them, the heavenly venerable from the blood spirit clan sneered. Your concealment methods are not bad. Ordinary heavenly venerables might not be able to discover you. However, how can you hide from me? The blood spirit clan heavenly venerate raised his hand and punched. The violent fist directly blasted into the mountain range, smashing it in half on the spot. A huge crack that stretched for tens of thousands of miles appeared in the ground. The veil that Yin Honghua and the others used to conceal their auras instantly shattered. A large amount of fist energy gushed out like a tide. Not good. Yin Honghua's expression changed. Emperor's chi surged from her body as she tried to defend against the fist force and protect the red-clothed guards behind her. However, this fist contained the Dao pattern Emperor chi that came from an Empyrean. With Yin Honghua's current strength, it would be very difficult for her to resist. At the critical moment, a figure stepped forward bravely. Chu Kuangren gently raised his hand and a vortex formed in the center of his palm. Heaven Vortex. Invincible magic Heaven's Vortex. The fist force was absorbed and transformed by the vortex. Finally, he lifted his palm and boundless energy bounced back towards the two celestial venerables in the sky. The two celestial venerables lifted their hands and shattered it. Oh, that's a mystery. Interesting. The Blood Spirit Clan Heavenly Venerate revealed a playful smile. It's the Blood Spirit Clan Heavenly Venerate. Among the Blood Tribe, the Blood Spirits have the sharpest senses. No wonder they could detect our presence. Yin Honghua said solemnly. One Celestial Venerate was too much for her to handle. Not to mention two. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate was right. The battle in the 7th asteroid belt had been very intense recently, and Celestial Venerables had appeared one after another. You guys wait here. I'll be back soon. Chu Kuangren said. Let me help you. I said wait here. Chu Kuangren's tone became colder. The battle between Celestial Venerables is not something you can interfere with. Stay here and take care of the red-clothed guards. Yin Honghua was silent for a while. All right. Take care of yourself. It's just two Celestial Venerables. Chu Kuangren said indifferently before his figure flashed and disappeared. Yin Honghua stood where she was and instructed the red-clothed guards to be on guard. She looked up into the sky, feeling a little dissatisfied. I'm still too weak. I can only hide behind the Celestial Venerables. In the sky. Chu Kuangren came before the two Blood Tribe Celestial Venerables. Looks like that cultivator was right. Yin Honghua is indeed here. As for you, you're the one who took the Supreme Chaos Spirit Source. The Blood Tribe Celestial Venerables sneered at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. Someone had exposed his and Yin Honghua's whereabouts, and they even knew that he had the Supreme Chaos Spirit Source. Chu Kuangren did not have to guess to know who did it. I've really saved an ingrate. Chu Kuangren shook his head. Then he looked at the two Celestial Venerables before him and used the Spirit of Omniscience, Shao AI, to analyze their information. Especially the Blood Tribe Celestial Venerables. His physique was very different from the other Blood Tribe members. His body was more like a soul form, but it did not need to be attached to a physical body. That was a very strange thing. One had to know that unless one's soul had reached an abnormally powerful level, one would not be able to move around in the world as a soul without fear. Otherwise, a pure soul form without a physical body would quickly dissipate, and there was no way to maintain it for long. I see. Chu Kuangren had a look of realization after he finished analyzing. At that time, the two celestial venerables had already made their move. Yu Zhaowu, I'll go take care of Yan Honghua. I'll leave this celestial venerables to you, the Blood Tribe celestial venerables said. Yu Zhaowu nodded. Sure. The Blood Tribe celestial venerables then flew towards Yan Honghua and the others. Did I say you can leave? Chu Kuangren spoke at that moment. With a gentle lift of his hand, a mini-world instantly formed. In an instant, the two celestial venerables' expressions changed. How can a mini-world like this exist? The moment Chu Kuangren's mini-world appeared, the two celestial venerables instantly felt an extremely strong pressure shrouding them. This pressure forced them to open their mini-worlds to resist it. The three mini-worlds collided in the air. The void distorted and exploded. An invisible pressure shrouded the surroundings. Although Yan Honghua and the others were not shrouded by the mini-world, the pressure still made them tremble. Is this the celestial venerables' mini-worlds? It's so strong. This is too scary. The celestial venerables and the early emperor realm are two completely different worlds. Even someone as proud as Yan Honghua could not help but narrow her eyes. However, she was not shocked by the celestial venerable's strength. After all, her grandfather was a celestial venerables, so she had long understood the difference between a celestial venerables and an early emperor realm cultivator. What shocked her was that Chu Kuangren could fight against two celestial venerables mini-worlds all by himself, and he even had the upper hand. I can't believe his strength has reached such a level. For the first time, Yan Honghua felt an unprecedented sense of defeat from someone her age. Chapter 7:16. The three mini-worlds clashed in the void of space. The two heavenly honorables could tell how strong Chu Kuangren was, so they made the first move. Boom. The Blood Tribe heavenly honorable unleashed a palm attack, and his majestic emperor's chi transformed into a gigantic blood-colored hand that was intertwined with countless Taoist patterns and grabbed at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood his ground and unleashed a palm attack as well. His emperor's chi and realm energy intertwined to form a giant golden hand. With a boom, the void exploded, creating a terrifying storm. Yu Zhaowu, the blood spirit race's Empyrean, made his move. He let out a low growl and pointed a finger at Chu Kuangren. As the dark red emperor's chi and Taoist patterns converged, an invisible ripple spread out and directly affected Chu Kuangren's soul. This was a soul attack. However, this attack was completely useless against Chu Kuangren. Once the blood spirit tribe reaches the heavenly honorable realm, there's a chance that they'll be able to develop a soul attack ability. However, this chance is very small. You're really lucky. Chu Kuangren glanced at Yu Zhaowu. How is this possible? Shock was written all over Yu Zhaowu's face. This soul attack had never failed him. Even a cultivator with a higher cultivation level than him would not be able to defend against it, yet Chu Kuangren was able to withstand it without a scratch. He also knew soul abilities. This was the first thought that popped up in Yu Zhaowu's mind. Then he raised his hand and attacked again. Streaks of powerful blood-colored energy swept out continuously. You guys are slightly stronger than the heavenly lord I killed before. Unfortunately, there's no difference in front of me. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. As he spoke, a large amount of emperor chi surged from his body. An incomparably terrifying Dharma form was formed, and all sorts of tyrannical and peerless Taoist auras erupted continuously, shaking the entire universe. Yan Honghua, the red-clothed guards, and the others all had their mouths agape. What is this? My God, the exquisite nine orifices sword heart, the chaotic Taoist body, so many Taoist auras. How did fellow Taoist Chu do it? So many Taoist bodies? This is impossible, this is impossible. Yan Honghua could not stop mumbling. She felt that the innate talent that she was so proud of was not even worth mentioning in front of Chu Kuangren. Just the 10,000 avatar techniques alone was already far beyond her reach. Asterisk gulp. Asterisk the blood race Empyrean gulped. We've been tricked. In his heart, he had already cursed the Sword Emperor to the point that it was bleeding dog blood. The other party did not mention that Chu Kuangren was this powerful. It was obvious that the other party was trying to harm both of them. However, if the sword knew about this, he would probably be dumbfounded as well. He did not know that Chu Kuangren had become so powerful. Run. The blood race heavenly venerate didn't hesitate to turn around and flee. Chu Kuangren pushed his small world to its limits, but he controlled its range to be only 3 meters away from him. He then unleashed the full power of his realm energy and broke out of Chu Kuangren's small world in one go. His figure then turned into a blood-colored stream of light and dashed into the distance. Oh, small worlds can be used like this. I've learned a lot. Chu Kuangren's eyes revealed a hint of realization. Although his battle prowess was stronger than these two Empyreans had been in this realm for who knew how many years, and their use of the small world had reached the point of perfection. There were still some things that he could learn from them. However, you still can't escape. Chu Kuangren slowly reached out his hand. The 10,000 Daos avatar behind him did the same. The void in front of the avatar distorted, and the avatar's entire hand reached into the void. Meanwhile, a horrifying giant colorful hand suddenly appeared in front of the escaping blood race Heavenly Venerate. It was Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Daos avatar. What's going on? The blood race Heavenly Venerate's expression changed drastically. Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Daos avatar could detect his attack from so far away. How did that hand travel through thousands of kilometers of space? However, it was too late to think about it. The 10,000 Daos avatar's giant colorful hand had already locked onto him. Amazing, primordial crimson palm. The blood race Heavenly Venerate roared and pushed his strength to its limit. A giant blood-colored palm blasted towards the giant colorful hand. The moment the two collided, the Taoist patterns on the giant blood-colored hand shattered into pieces. The giant colorful hand landed on the blood race Heavenly Venerate's body like a hot knife through butter, blasting him into the ground. Everything within thousands of kilometers shook, and the ground caved in, forming a giant crater. Cracks spread across the ground, forming many canyons. The landscape within thousands of kilometers changed drastically, and smoke and dust filled the air. Inside that crater, the blood race Heavenly Venerate's body lay on the ground like a rag. His bones were broken, his eyes were bulging, and blood was flowing out of his orifices. His life force was slowly fading away. Now it's your turn. Chu Kuangren looked at Yu Xiaowu from the blood race. He gently lifted his hand and the 10,000 Daos avatar followed suit. With that one palm attack, Yu Xiaowu's body quickly dissipated like smoke, but he reassembled in another place in the next moment. Chu Kuangren was not surprised. He unleashed another punch, and after disintegrating his opponent's body, the avatar's giant hand grabbed a blood-colored crystal in mid-air. Yu Xiaowu's figure was reflected from the crystal. The blood race's bodies are hard to destroy because of their blood spirit cores. Now that I've mastered the blood spirit cores, where else can you run to? The blood race's bodies were special, and they were more like souls. The reason they could survive in this state was because of the blood spirit cores in their bodies. That blood spirit core was equivalent to a physical body. The blood spirit race could only exist because the blood spirit core absorbed their souls. Once their blood spirit cores were destroyed, even a Heavenly Venerate would not be able to escape death. Don't kill me. I can exchange a secret for it. Yu Xiaowu hurriedly shouted. Chu Kuangren, who was about to kill him, was intrigued. What secret do you have that can protect your life? Yes, it's about a secret universe. Yu Xiaowu quickly said. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. A secret universe? Interesting. A secret universe was similar to some of the secret realms in the firmament star. The only difference was that most of the secret realms in the firmament star were man-made, and they existed under the firmament star's heavenly Tao. A secret universe, on the other hand, was born from the boundless universe. It did not belong to any planet's heavenly Tao. Some high-level secret universe could even nurture all kinds of living beings like a life-preserving planet. They could even create the heavenly Tao. It's near the 7th asteroid. Not long ago we detected a secret universe drifting around, and this secret universe is now near the 7th asteroid, Yu Xiaowu said. A secret universe was not like a planet that would always stay in one place. Some secret universes were in a floating state, shuttling through the endless void of the universe. Continue. We're just scouts sent here to investigate this secret universe. The Blood Tribe's main force will arrive soon. Chu Kuangren's expression turned serious when he heard that. Yan Honghua's expression changed when she heard that. If a scout was already at the heavenly honorable level, then how big would the Blood Tribe's main force be? How many experts would they have? This won't do. We must inform grandfather and the others about this as soon as possible. Yan Honghua said solemnly. Chu Kuangren looked at Yu Xiaowu with a thoughtful look in his eyes. He clenched his fist, and the 10,000 Taoist avatar destroyed his body, exposing his spiritual core completely. Then he cast a mysterious seal onto the spiritual core. It was the Soul Mastery Slave seal that he had not used for a long time. Chapter 717. A ray of light shot out and penetrated into his soul core the moment his soulless physique was destroyed. It then left a golden word, slave, in the core of his soul consciousness. What did you do to me? After Moonshine's soul was reconstructed, he sensed that something was wrong and looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. From now on, your life is in my hands, Chu Kuangren said calmly. He released his soul core, and a terrifying pain that came from his soul almost caused Moonshine's face to contort. He felt that his soul core was about to shatter at any moment. You've enslaved my soul? Can't I? Yu Xiaowu took a deep breath, her expression changing. However, he was not a loyal person. Otherwise, he would not have told Chu Kuangren about the secret universe. Then, Chu Kuangren asked about the secret universe. Yan Honghua and the others had a serious look on their faces. They had already contacted the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerable. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerable and the others took this matter very seriously. They held a military meeting with the other stronghold lords and planned to send someone over. After all, a secret universe was too important. It often represented a large amount of resources and opportunities. If such a treasure fell into the hands of the Blood Tribe, it would be a huge blow to the Firmament Star's cultivators. However, even though we've received the information, we're still a step too late. Moreover, the higher-ups still need to verify the authenticity of the information. By the time they send someone over, the Blood Tribe's main force would have already arrived. The cultivators in the 7th asteroid belt are powerless against them. My grandfather said that for safety's sake we should retreat first. Yan Honghua reported the outcome of her discussion with the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerable. Yeah. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He was not surprised. If the cultivators in the 7th asteroid belt wanted to fight against the Blood Tribe's main force, it would be like throwing an egg against a rock. However, Chu Kuangren was not willing to give up on the secret universe. He pondered for a while and decided to stay. With his current strength, he might not be able to fight against the Blood Tribe's main force alone, but it would not be a problem for him to protect himself. Leave with the red-robed guards first. I'll stay here and think of a way to stop the Blood Tribe from obtaining too many resources. Yan Honghua and the others' expressions changed when they heard him. No, this is too dangerous. That's right. The Blood Tribe's main force has a heavenly venerable cultivation. It's too dangerous for you to stay here alone. Fellow Daoist Chu, don't act recklessly. Everyone tried to persuade him. However, Chu Kuangren had already made up his mind and no one could stop him. But before that, there's something I need to settle first. A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. Only Yan Honghua thought of something. She looked at Yu Xiaowu and said, Friend Chu, are you talking about the sword race's betrayal? Chu Kuangren nodded. Yes. He was kind enough to save them, but he was betrayed instead. Chu Kuangren would not swallow this insult so easily. Asteroid number 7. Somewhere. Jian, on the other hand, brought the remaining cultivators of the sword race to meet up with the main forces of the sword race. The one leading them was a young swordsman. Although this swordsman looked young, judging from his aura and bone age, he was not much younger than the sword. He was also an emperor from the ancient era. His name was Jian Wuk. Jian Wuk was the most dazzling genius of the sword race in the ancient era. He was also one of the few sky prides who managed to become an emperor in the modern era. Compared to Jian Daozi's peerless supreme Daoist physique, Jian Wuk did not have much of an advantage in terms of physique. The reason he could become an emperor during that era was mostly due to his own comprehension and opportunities of fortune. After countless years of cultivation, Jian Wuk was now a famous heavenly honorable in the extraterrestrial battlefield. There were only a handful of people in the extraterrestrial sword race who could match up to him. Honorable Swordsman Wuk. The sword came before Jian Wuk and called out respectfully. In terms of position, Jian Wuk and Jian Wuk were both commanders. However, in terms of status, there was a world of difference. One was a lower-level heavenly honorable, while the other was an upper-level heavenly honorable. In the sword race, in order to distinguish Jian Wuk from the other commanders, they would respectfully address him as Honorable Swordsman. You're here. How's the loot? Jian Wuk asked. Upon hearing that, Jian Wuk's expression turned sour. He briefly explained his encounter with the Blood Tribe Heavenly Honorable. However, he purposely hid it from the two Heavenly Honorables to cover up his ingratitude. No matter how shameless he was, he knew that ingratitude was shameful in the sword race. Chu Kuangren, Jian Wuk frowned. Compared to Jian Wuk's encounter with the Blood Tribe Heavenly Honorable, he was more concerned about Chu Kuangren. That name was known to almost everyone in the sword race. There were those who hated him for hindering the younger generation of the sword race from becoming an emperor, and there were also those who praised him for his outstanding talent. There were even some who compared Chu Kuangren to Jian Wuk. That was because Jian Wuk was also a peerless genius in the past. He was the kind of genius who dominated an era and became an emperor all by himself. In the history of the sword race, there were only a handful of such geniuses. Therefore, as a sky pride, it was only natural for people to compare them. I can't believe Chu Kuangren has grown to the point where he can kill a heavenly honorable in just a few years. What a freak. Even Jian Wuk had to admit that Chu Kuangren's talent was far beyond his own. If it's possible, I'd like to meet him in person. Jian Wuk murmured. At that moment, the compass at his waist suddenly vibrated. Oh, it's a message from the tribe. Jian Wuk was a little surprised. He opened the compass, and when he received the message, his expression changed. How could this be? What's wrong? Sword was a little surprised. A universe secret realm has appeared on the 7th asteroid belt. The Blood Tribe's main force is coming, Jian Wuk said solemnly. What? Sword could not help but be shocked. What do we do now? The Blood Tribe's main force is not something we can fight against. Let's evacuate first, Jian Wuk said helplessly. Although he was powerful, it was impossible for him to fight against the Blood Tribe's main force alone. All right, I'll inform the others now, Sword quickly said. However, just as he was about to leave, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he stared straight ahead. A few hundred meters away, a white-robed figure with a gorgeous long sword at his waist was slowly walking towards the swordsman. It's him, Chu Kuangren. Sword could not believe what he was seeing. What was going on? Why was he not dead yet? How did he survive the encirclement of two intermediate heavenly honorables? Jian Wuk also noticed Chu Kuangren, and his eyes were filled with surprise. So he's Chu Kuangren. His aura is indeed extraordinary. Chu Kuangren slowly walked towards the swordsman. Jian Wuk said, Brother Chu, what are you doing here? 2 words, to kill. Chapter 7:18. Just 1 word, kill. Chu Kuangren said. Jian Wuk's expression changed when he heard that. Brother Chu, don't tell me you want to kill someone from the swordsman tribe. Correct. Heh, I'm only addressing you as my friend because we're both cultivators of the firmament star. Don't be so shameless. Jian Wuk said coldly. Coming to him and killing someone from the swordsman tribe. No matter what the reason was, he could not just sit back and watch. Oh, do you swordsmen care about your reputation too? Chu Kuangren sneered. He then locked his gaze on Jian Wuk and said coldly, I'm the one who saved your life. Now I'm going to take it back. As soon as he said that, the descendant self-sword at his waist was unsheathed, and a chilling purple sword ray shot out with a murderous intent. Jian Wuk's expression changed drastically. Honorable swordsman, save me. Needless to say, Jian Wuk had already made his move. A black long sword suddenly appeared in his hand. With a slash, the Emperor's Qi Daoist patterns intertwined and collided with the purple sword ray. With a loud bang, the 2 beams of sword light exploded, tearing cracks in the surrounding space. Countless cracks also appeared on the ground. With the descendant's self-sword in his hand, Chu Kuangren stared at Jian Wuk coldly and said, He's ungrateful. Are you going to stop me from killing him? Speak clearly. Ha, I saved him, but he told the 2 blood tribe heavenly honorables about Yan Honghua and my whereabouts. Don't you think he deserves to die? Is what he said true? Jian Wuk looked at Jian Wuk and asked coldly. Honorable swordsman, don't listen to his nonsense. He has never been on good terms with the swordsman tribe, and he's here to cause trouble. He must be eyeing the chaos spiritual sources that we found. Jian Wuk immediately defended himself. Jian Wuk frowned and looked at Chu Kuangren. This matter hasn't been investigated yet. Besides, even if Jian Wuk did something wrong, he's still the leader of the swordsman tribe. He should be dealt with by the swordsman tribe. Unfortunately, his life belongs to me now. Let the swordsman tribe deal with him? Chu Kuangren preferred to do it himself. Chu Kuangren, do you really want to fight us to the death? So what? Then don't blame me. I've wanted to meet you for a long time. Jian Wuk held the black sword in his hand, and his eyes revealed a look of eagerness. When heavenly venerables fought, the small world was the first to be unleashed. As for Jian Wuk, he was an upper-level heavenly venerate, and a proud upper-level heavenly venerate at that. His foundation was strong, and it wasn't something an ordinary heavenly venerate could compare to. His emperor energy was high-grade and his Tao was flawless. His little world was the most powerful one Chu Kuangren had ever seen. It was even more powerful than Heavenly Honorable Su from the Celestial Honorable Alliance. Interesting. Chu Kuangren had also opened his own little world. However, although his foundation was strong, the gap between their cultivation bases was obvious. When the two small worlds collided, he was instantly suppressed. Chu Kuangren frowned slightly. Then he recalled the time when he had fought against the two blood tribe heavenly venerables not long ago. One of them had shrunk his small world. With a thought, he shrunk the miniature world to a radius of 10 feet around him and concentrated the world energy. In this way, he was able to form his own space within Jian Wu's small world and was not suppressed by his opponent. This surprised Jian Wu. You've only just ascended to the heavenly honorable realm not long ago, yet you're so familiar with controlling your little world. That's rare. Then he raised his sword and slashed at Chu Kuangren. The pitch-black sword ray was incomparably deep, and it contained a darkness that could devour everything. Chu Kuangren also slashed out with his sword. The sword ray was extremely domineering, and it even contained the power of an invincible technique. It reflected the terrifying phenomenon of the sun and moon flipping and the stars falling. When the two sword rays collided, Jian Wu's sword ray was slightly weaker. It was shattered, and the powerful sword chi forced him to retreat a few hundred feet. A premium profound technique? Jian Wu was even more shocked. After all, even though he was known as one of the most talented sky prides in the swordsman tribe, even he had only managed to comprehend a top-tier profound technique. This person's talent is indeed amazing. Throughout the entire Firmament Star's history, I'm afraid only a few people can be compared to him. I'm afraid that only a human king might be able to defeat him. Jian Wu thought to himself. At that thought, he no longer saw Chu Kuangren as an ordinary lower-level heavenly honorable. Instead, he saw Chu Kuangren as an opponent of equal strength. On his body, the Emperor's chi circulated and Taoist patterns intertwined. An extremely powerful aura leaked out and headed straight for Chu Kuangren. Profound technique, gloomy void slash. Jian Wu unleashed a sword attack. The gloomy sword ray was covered with a large number of Taoist patterns. It shook the universe and completely crushed and devoured the surrounding void. That was his top-tier profound technique. Upon seeing that, the Emperor's chi and Taoist patterns appeared behind Chu Kuangren. The 10,000 Taoist avatars appeared. Various Taoist physique auras, heavenly punishment Taoist patterns, Emperor's chi and other energies converged to form a majestic avatar power. He then unleashed a punch. The surrounding void was blasted apart by that punch. When the avatar power and the gloomy sword ray collided, the entire number 7 asteroid was shaken. The entire planet was shaking. Cracks gradually covered more than half of the planet. The spectators of the swordsman tribe were sent flying. They could not help but tremble when they saw the apocalyptic scene caused by the battle between the two. It's too powerful. Is this the combat strength of an upper-level heavenly honorable? How terrifying. His Emperor's chi foundation and Taoist patterns are on a completely different level compared to us. There's no comparison at all. That's right. I can't believe Chu Kuangren can fight against Honorable Swordsman Wu to such an extent. Is he really just a lower-level heavenly honorable? He's indeed one of the most demonic existences in history. Bang bang. Chu Kuangren's 10,000 avatars and Jian Wu's sword chi continuously collided, shaking the universe and shattering a large portion of the void. Chu Kuangren is indeed a strong opponent. Although Jian Wu was shocked by Chu Kuangren's strength, his eyes were filled with excitement as if he had finally met his match. Looks like I'll have to use my full strength now. The realm energy on Jian Wu's body suddenly contracted. The mini-realm that covered a radius of thousands of kilometers quickly returned to him. He wanted to gather his realm energy to fight Chu Kuangren again. However, Chu Kuangren smiled when he saw that. You've contracted your realm energy. Jian Wu was puzzled when he heard that. However, he suddenly thought of something and his expression changed. Chu Kuangren, who was in front of him, raised his arm and slashed towards the distance. A piercingly cold sword ray whizzed out and locked onto Jian Wu in the distance. Chu Kuangren's intention of coming here was not to fight Jian Wu. He only had one goal, and that was to kill Jian Wu. Previously, Jian Wu's mini-realm had shrouded his surroundings and restricted his movements, so he could only focus on dealing with his opponent. Now, Jian Wu could only contract his mini-realm in order to defeat him. This gave Jian Wu an opportunity to take advantage of. Dream on. Jian Wu roared. His figure turned into a stream of light and flew towards the sword ray. Just as the sword ray was about to hit Jian Wu stood in front of him and unleashed a slash with his sword. You won't be able to block this attack. Chu Kuangren said indifferently and kept his descendant self-sword. Ripples appeared in the void. The sword light that slashed through the sky actually disappeared into the void in front of Jian Wu's eyes. When it reappeared, it was already above Jian Wuk. With a loud crash, it slashed Jian Wuk, who was caught off guard, in half. Chapter 719. You won't be able to stop this attack, Chu Kuangren said as he kept his descendant self-sword. The sword light drilled into the void and was carried to the sword, but it suddenly fell from the sky, and the sword was easily cut into two halves in fear. Spatial technique, damn it. Jian Wuk's expression was extremely gloomy. He stared at Chu Kuangren and gripped his long sword tightly. Chu Kuangren, you've crossed the line. Such an ungrateful person deserves to die. If you wish to fight again, I'll gladly oblige. However, you should have received the news that the Blood Tribe's main army is coming soon. Run for your lives before they arrive. Chu Kuangren looked at him calmly after he finished speaking. Jian Wuk's expression changed before he finally snorted. I don't care what Jian did. Even if he deserved to die, I, Jian Wuk, will not forget that you killed him in front of me today. Once we get back, I'll find you and settle this once and for all. Like I said, I'll gladly oblige. Chu Kuangren cast his spatial conveyor technique and instantly disappeared. Jian Wuk frowned when he saw that. What a troublesome spatial technique. Spatial techniques were known to be impossible to defend against. Even in the extraterrestrial battlefield, there were not many who could master spatial techniques. How did it go? Yin Honghua asked when she saw Chu Kuangren return. Chu Kuangren replied, I'm fine now. However, Yin Honghua did not look happy at all. Instead, she said worriedly, the swordsmen are quite influential in the extraterrestrial battlefield. Now that you've killed their leader, I'm afraid you've made them enemies. Unknowingly, she had started to worry for Chu Kuangren. Making enemies with the swordsmen? I'm used to it. Chu Kuangren looked indifferent. How many forces had he made enemies with? However, those forces were either annihilated or injured, and most of them were in complete chaos. Yet he was still living a carefree life. This kind of thing was already a common occurrence for him. Alright, before the Blood Tribe's main army arrives, you guys should leave quickly, Chu Kuangren said to Yin Honghua and the others. Do you really want to stay here? Yin Honghua took a deep breath and wanted to persuade him further. Yes, I've made up my mind. Be careful. Since Yin Honghua could not persuade Chu Kuangren, she could only lead the red-robed guards away from the 7th asteroid. Other than the red-clothed guards, the rest of the Firmament Star cultivators who came to the 7th asteroid belt also left one by one. One by one, the battleships flew out of the 7th asteroid belt. The Blood Tribe cultivators couldn't help but frown. Why did these Firmament Star cultivators suddenly leave? Could it be that they already know about the arrival of our Blood Breed's follow-up troops? Who leaked the secret? The Blood Tribe cultivators were confused. Originally, they had planned to capture all the Firmament cultivators who had come to the number 7 asteroid belt, and then excavate the universe's secret realm. However, he did not expect the Firmament Star cultivators to retreat. This instantly ruined their plan. Within the 7th asteroid, Chu Kuangren looked at Yu Xiaowu beside him and said, the Blood Tribe's main army will only arrive in a few more days. About 3 days, Yu Xiaowu said. That secret realm can only be opened by the combined efforts of 10 upper heavenly honorables? Chu Kuangren frowned. That's right. The barrier of the universe secret realm is very sturdy. Even the lowest grade universe secret realm can't be opened so easily. Yu Xiaowu said. 3 days. Chu Kuangren murmured. He still had 3 days to prepare. Return to the Blood Tribe now. Report to me if you discover anything new. Chu Kuangren ordered Yu Xiaowu to hide in the Blood Tribe. After that, he found a suitable place to go into closed-door meditation and set up layers of restrictions. He planned to refine the ultimate chaos origin within 3 days. 3 days later. Outside the Seven Seas asteroid, a large fleet of battleships sailed towards it. Countless Blood Tribe cultivators stood on the battleships. The largest battleship was led by a young man in a black cloak. His face was as pale as a sheet. The young man sat on a leather chair with a glass cup in his hand that was filled with fine wine. Beside him were a few scantily clad Blood Tribe women serving him, fully displaying the demeanor of a spoiled brat. Chu Kuangren's emperor's thoughts surged and scanned the Blood Tribe's fleet, especially that pale young man. Although the young man looked like he had been drained by wine and women, Chu Kuangren could still tell that he was the strongest person in the fleet. Shall AI analyze this for me? Yes, master. The omniscient spirit Xiao Ai's deep and sexy voice rang out. Then, she transmitted the information of that pale young man to Chu Kuangren. By Juexin, the son of the Blood King of the White Tribe. His cultivation level is an upper heavenly honorable, very close to a Tao Lord. He can be considered a half-step Tao Lord. He possesses the Blood Darkness Divine ability, the Profound Obliteration Information about Bai Juexin kept appearing in his mind. The White Tribe, the son of the Blood King. What a powerful background. Chu Kuangren was a little surprised. As far as he knew, there were 13 clans in the Blood Tribe, and the ruler of each clan was known as the Blood King. There were a total of 13 Blood Kings in the Blood Tribe. They were the 13 people with the highest positions in the Blood Tribe, and each of them was a Tao Lord. This Bai Juexin was the son of a Blood King. Few people in the Blood Tribe could match his status. Based on Xiao AI's analysis, Chu Kuangren compared the strength of both parties. He realized that even though he had absorbed the supreme-grade chaos spiritual source, his strength had improved tremendously. He was very close to a middle heavenly honorable now. However, compared to Bai Juexin, he was still much weaker. A half-step Tao Lord was no joke. Not to mention that he had countless Blood Tribe soldiers under his command. I can't fight him head-on. I can only play it by ear. Chu Kuangren muttered. He continued to observe the Blood Tribe's movements. When the Blood Tribe's fleet arrived above the 7th asteroid, they stopped. Bai Juexin slowly stood up from his chair. He stretched his body. We're finally here. Have you determined the location of the secret cosmic realm? He asked a Blood Tribe cultivator beside him. That cultivator replied respectfully, I've confirmed it. It's right above this asteroid. Got it. Bai Juexin nodded and gently raised his hand. A majestic blood-colored energy erupted from his body. With a punch, a blood-colored beam of light tore through the cosmic void. Chu Kuangren's sharp senses noticed that his opponent's punch did not only contain Emperor's Qi Taoist patterns, but also a small realm. It was not just a surge of realm energy. It was an entire heavenly honorable small realm. Bai Juexin had used an entire small realm as an energy attack. Compared to using a small realm as a means of suppression, this was many times more powerful. Is this how a half-step Tao Lord uses a small realm? Chu Kuangren was amazed. Among heavenly honorables, apart from competing in Emperor's Qi and Taoist patterns, one small realm usage was also an important measurement. Bai Juexin's technique of throwing a small realm out like a ball was something that not many heavenly honorables could do. Chapter 720. The blood-colored light beam blasted above the 7th asteroid. Horrifying gales of cosmic winds swept across the cold and silent universe, and the cosmic void continued to shatter in the darkness. Then a beam of pink light suddenly lit up the dark universe, and a giant pink light orb appeared from the shattered void. The size of this light orb was no smaller than the 7th asteroid, and there was a brilliant light flowing on it like a giant bubble. This was the secret realm of the universe. The existence of the secret realm of the universe did not come in a single form. Instead, it came in many forms. Sometimes, it came in the form of a water droplet, a bubble, or even a rock that hid a secret realm. Just one punch is enough to make the secret realm of the universe appear from the void. Diske, a half-step Tao Lord is indeed extraordinary. Chu Kuangren was amazed. At that moment, Bai Juexin attacked again. He punched out once more, and another beam of light wrapped around a small world shot out. Originally, it would have taken the power of 10 upper-level celestial venerables to break open the barrier of the mystic realm, but with a single punch, a crack appeared. Through the crack, everyone could see what was inside the secret realm. Just like its pink exterior, the inside of the secret realm was also pink. Inside, there were a large number of pink crystals either floating in the air, growing on the ground, or existing in all kinds of strange forms. It was a world filled with pink crystals. Let's go in and have a look. Bai Juexin waved his hand and said. Instantly, the warships plunged into the pink secret realm. The crack that Bai Juexin had opened was also healing itself at an extremely fast speed. By the time all the warships had entered, the crack was almost completely healed. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared above the crack. Without any hesitation, he flew in before the crack was completely healed. Upon entering the pink secret realm, Chu Kuangren immediately felt a surge of extremely pure spiritual power gushing towards him. Chu Kuangren absorbed it into his body and realized that he could easily refine this spiritual power even without the universal cauldron physique. Now let's see what treasures there are here. Chu Kuangren activated his treasure locating skill. The auras of various treasures spread from all directions. The treasure hunt has officially begun. Chu Kuangren grinned. Inside the pink secret realm, Chu Kuangren followed the auras of the treasures and arrived at a mountain range that was made up of countless crystals. He went deep into the mountains and found a strange crystal-like flower. This is the 17th heavenly crystal flower, right? Chu Kuangren plucked the mystical flower. The rare celestial crystal flower was the name of the treasure that Chu Kuangren had obtained from Xiao Ai's analysis. The function of this flower was not much different from a spiritual source. Both could be used to increase one's cultivation level, and one rare celestial crystal flower was equivalent to 100 emperor-grade spiritual sources. In this pink secret realm, these strange flowers were the most numerous. It took Chu Kuangren less than a day to find 17 of them. However, even though he had the treasure-seeking technique, he was only one person and couldn't compare to the mighty army of the blood race. According to Yu Zhaowu's secret message, the blood kindred had excavated more than 600 rare flowers. Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin. A single person's energy is limited after all. Looks like I'll have to speed up my analysis of the spatial structure of this place so that I can use my spatial conveyor technique freely and carry out my second plan. His second plan required the support of teleportation. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to realize. 2 days later, inside a huge blood kindred warship, a blood kindred heavenly venerable was instructing his soldiers to count the treasures they had plundered from the secret realm before storing them into his yin and yang ring. It was the right decision to follow the prince into this secret realm. It's only been a few days and we've already found so many treasures. Even if I get 100th of them when I return, it'll be enough for my strength to improve by leaps and bounds. The blood kindred heavenly venerable was full of smiles. This was only the harvest of his team. The rest had yet to be accounted for. Wow, there's quite a lot of treasures here. At that moment, an unfamiliar voice suddenly rang out from the warship. The blood kindred heavenly venerable's expression changed as he looked towards the source of the voice. All he saw was a white-robed figure appearing on the warship. This aura, you're a firmament star cultivator. The blood kindred heavenly venerable was shocked. The firmament star cultivators and the blood kindred cultivators lived on different planets, so it was easy for a smart cultivator to identify each other's aura. He did not expect that there would be a firmament star cultivator in this secret realm. Haven't they all run away? Without much thought, the blood kindred heavenly venerable ordered his subordinates to attack. Kill? Firmament star cultivator, are you here to die? How foolish. One by one, the blood kindred charged towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren raised his hand and opened his mini-realm. In an instant, the blood kindred soldiers that were charging towards him exploded into blood mists. The blood kindred heavenly venerable's expression changed. It's a heavenly venerable. He opened his own mini-realm as well. However, he was just an ordinary lower-level heavenly venerable, which was far weaker than Chu Kuangren. Without any suspense, his mini-realm crumbled the moment it collided with Chu Kuangren's mini-realm. Die. An indifferent voice rang out. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and locked his sword ray onto the blood kindred heavenly venerable. As the sword ray swept past, the heavenly venerable's head was tossed high into the air. The commander is dead. This firmament star cultivator is a heavenly venerable. Run. The blood kindred cultivators on the warship panicked and fled in all directions. However, they were trapped in Chu Kuangren's mini-realm, so there was nowhere for them to go. In just a short while they were all killed. After that, Chu Kuangren began to loot the warship's treasures. From the blood kindred heavenly venerable's yin and yang ring, he found close to 1,000 celestial wonder flowers. This is indeed much faster than me searching alone. A satisfied smile appeared on Chu Kuangren's face. Who should I look for next? Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought surged and covered a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers. Naturally, his emperor's thought could cover more than that. However, this secret realm was filled with blood kindred cultivators. If he spread his emperor's thought too wide, he would be easily detected by the emperors and heavenly venerables. Alright, it's you then. Chu Kuangren locked his sights on a blood kindred warship that was tens of thousands of kilometers away. He cast his spatial conveyor technique and disappeared. Not long after, another blood kindred warship fell, and a large number of treasures from the secret realm fell into Chu Kuangren's hands. Somewhere. Bai Juexin was enjoying the service of a few blood kindred beauties on the warship's deck when a blood kindred heavenly venerable suddenly walked up to him. Prince, we've discovered firmament star cultivators in the secret realm. How many are there? 1. Bai Juexin was stunned for a moment before he said with some dissatisfaction. If there's only one, then we can just find a few others to deal with him. Do you think such a small matter is worth reporting to me? Prince, this person is a heavenly venerable. Most importantly, he specializes in some kind of spatial technique, so it's very difficult for our people to track him down. Now, he has killed a few of our heavenly venerables and taken away all the treasures from the secret realm that they found. Upon hearing that, Bai Juexin frowned and snorted. What a bunch of useless trash. Do you mean I have to deal with him myself? He slowly got up, and then his emperor's thought spread out like a tidal wave. Soon, it enveloped the entire secret realm. Chapter 721. Bai Juexin's mighty emperor's thought enveloped the entire secret realm as he began to search for traces of Chu Kuangren. Naturally, Chu Kuangren had also sensed the fluctuations of his opponent's emperor thought. Is he already here? Although Chu Kuangren knew that he could not defeat Bai Juexin now, he was not afraid. Found you. Bai Juexin's eyes narrowed as his emperor's thought locked onto Chu Kuangren. His figure then turned into a stream of light and flew towards his opponent. Its speed was so fast that it could travel millions of kilometers in an instant. At the same time, Bai Juexin's small world also unfolded. With just a thought, his small world enveloped a radius of 10,000 miles. And it was still expanding. Even if Chu Kuangren possessed the spatial conveyance technique, it would be difficult for him to use it freely once he was enveloped by Chu Kuangren's little world. Of course, Chu Kuangren would not give him the chance to do so. Before Bai Juexin arrived, Chu Kuangren had already cast his spatial conveyor technique and left. Oh, the spatial structure of this secret realm is different from the outside world. I didn't expect you to be able to teleport so easily. This spatial technique is indeed impressive, but where do you think you can escape to? Bai Juexin's voice spread throughout the entire secret realm. Everyone knew that he was chasing after Chu Kuangren. Through his emperor's thought, he once again locked onto Chu Kuangren's position. However, Chu Kuangren had once again used his spatial conveyor technique to escape. Just like that, one was chasing while the other was constantly teleporting. This chase lasted for a full 6 hours. Forget about capturing Chu Kuangren, Bai Juexin did not even have the chance to envelop Chu Kuangren with his mini-world. Unless your pocket world can cover the entire secret realm, you will only be able to look at my back forever. Chu Kuangren chuckled and said. His voice was not loud. However, Bai Juexin, who had locked onto him with the emperor's will, could hear everything clearly. His expression instantly darkened. Bastard. He channeled his monarch chi to increase his speed to the maximum. However, no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than teleportation? Bai Juexin could surpass the speed of light and travel millions of miles in an instant, but Chu Kuangren could travel anywhere in the secret realm with just a thought. How could it only span millions of miles? Another few hours passed. Bai Juexin still could not catch Chu Kuangren. Just as he was enraged, a sword light wrapped in majestic emperor chi suddenly descended from the sky above his head. Chu Kuangren was the one who had unleashed that attack, and he had used the spatial conveyor technique to move it above his head. Chu Kuangren sent a sword strike towards Bai Juexin from millions of miles away. This sword came with great momentum, containing the might of an invincible technique. Even if an ordinary Empyrean blocked it with all their strength, it would be difficult for them to escape death. Bai Juexin shouted as he slapped his palm toward the sky. Blood-colored Emperor Qi gathered and forcefully dispersed the sword. Your sword is too weak. Bai Juexin said coldly. Oh really? Chu Kuangren chuckled playfully. After that, at a certain spot in the secret realm, the space above a blood tribe warship suddenly warped, and then a ray of purple sword light descended from the sky. With a deafening explosion, the battleship was split into two, and a large number of blood race cultivators died under the ravaging sword chi. Of course, Bai Juexin noticed that. At that moment, his pale face quickly turned red because of his extreme anger. He was so angry that his body could not help but tremble. So what if those blood race cultivators died? He did not care. However, Chu Kuangren's actions were a slap to his face. As the leader of this operation, not only could he not deal with Chu Kuangren, but he could not even protect his own people. Was there anything more humiliating than that? Firmament human, tell me your name. I'm your father. D*MN B****. You'd better not fall into my hands. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer every punishment in the blood tribe. Bai Juexin was so angry that he almost lost his mind. In the face of Bai Juexin's rage, Chu Kuangren curled his lips. He raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. Far away, another warship was destroyed. Bai Juexin's angry roar echoed throughout the entire secret realm. Everyone gather. Don't let this person take us down one by one. Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique was too shameless. Others might not be able to catch him, but he could attack at will. All the blood tribe cultivators, including Bai Juexin, were just targets to him. The only thing the blood tribe cultivators could do now was to gather together and follow Bai Juexin to ensure that Chu Kuangren would not take them down one by one. Meanwhile, Bai Juexin had also given up on hunting Chu Kuangren and returned to his warship. However, the blood tribe had scattered their troops to various places to collect the treasures in the secret realm. Hence, it would take some time to gather together. During that time, Chu Kuangren had swiftly taken down more than 10 warships and looted a large amount of treasures. 2 days later, all the blood tribe cultivators who had entered the secret realm had gathered together. However, compared to their high spirits when they first entered the secret realm, they were now dejected and dispirited. They did not expect that Chu Kuangren would appear in this trip to the secret realm, which caught them off guard. Not a single one of the hundreds of millions of blood tribe cultivators could do anything to Chu Kuangren. All of them were suppressed by a single person. ***, this guy's spatial techniques are too shameless. We can't even catch him. On the contrary, this guy can even attack us at will. Among us, besides the prince, no one else is a match for him. However, with his spatial techniques, even the prince can't do anything to him. This is just too frustrating. The blood race heavenly venerables gathered together and discussed with each other. In front of them, Bai Juexin's expression was extremely grim. He was also thinking about how to deal with Chu Kuangren. However, no matter how hard he thought, he could not think of a way to restrain his opponent's spatial techniques. Unless it's the Daelord's small world or the origin of this secret realm, we can't do anything to him. Bai Juexin took a deep breath and said helplessly. The Daelord's small world could cover the entire secret realm. No matter how powerful his opponent's spatial techniques were, he could not freely use them in someone else's small world. However, the Blood Tribe Daelords and the Firmament Star Daelords were fighting each other, so they rarely took the initiative to attack. Besides, they did not have any Daelords in their team. As for the second method, controlling the secret realm's origin was even more difficult than getting a Daelord to attack. As the name suggested, the secret realm's origin was the original energy of this secret realm. Controlling the secret realm's origin was equivalent to controlling the entire secret realm. However, the secret realm's origin was different from other treasures. It was hidden very well and was very difficult to find. Even if it was discovered, it was impossible for a heavenly honorable to refine and control it. We'll deal with this guy later. Let's continue to excavate the secret realm. As long as we're together, that guy won't be able to do anything. Bai Juexin said indifferently. Even so, with so many blood tribe cultivators gathered together and excavating in the same direction, the efficiency of collecting treasures was greatly reduced. On the other hand, after Chu Kuangren had collected more than 10 blood tribe warships, he continued to search for the most valuable treasures in the secret realm with his treasure locating skill. Chapter 722. Chu Kuangren entered the secret realm and wreaked havoc in the blood tribe, forcing them to gather together under Bai Juexin's protection. After that, Chu Kuangren used his treasure locating skill to search for the most valuable treasures in the secret realm of this universe. On this day, Chu Kuangren arrived at a pink crystal mountain range. Here he once again collected a few rare flowers. However, just as he was about to leave, a strange fluctuation came. It was a very weak fluctuation. Chu Kuangren even suspected that he was hallucinating. He used his treasure locating skill to confirm again, but there was no fluctuation either. He frowned. Could it really be an illusion? Chu Kuangren found it hard to believe. He used his treasure locating skill again and again to confirm again and again. When he used it for the 18th time, the weak fluctuation appeared again. Just like the first time, it disappeared in an instant. However, that was enough for Chu Kuangren to confirm that something was wrong. It's not an illusion. There really is some kind of treasure here, but it's so well hidden that even my treasure locating skill almost missed it. What could it be? Chu Kuangren smiled excitedly. He began to explore the source of that strange fluctuation. That strange fluctuation came from the depths of the mountain range. Chu Kuangren used his treasure locating skill again and slowly went deeper into the mountain range. Soon he arrived at the end of the mountain range. It was a huge pink crystal mountain wall. The source of that strange fluctuation came from this mountain wall. However, to Chu Kuangren's senses, this mountain wall was just like any other ordinary crystal mountain wall. There was nothing special about it at all. There must be something special about this mountain wall that the treasure locating skill is reacting to, Chu Kuangren murmured. However, he did not approach it hastily. Xiao AI, help me analyze this crystal mountain wall. Yes, Master. Connecting to the consciousness of the universe. Beginning analysis of target. This mountain wall consists of spirit crystals, minerals, and a small amount of metal. It has the ability to isolate senses. The crystal mountain wall's information was analyzed one by one, but what caught Chu Kuangren's attention the most was the ability to isolate senses. Isolate senses? Could it be to prevent the treasures inside this mountain wall from being discovered? Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and muttered, "Master, this mountain wall is hollow." At that moment, the all-knowing spirit Xiao Ai's voice rang in his mind. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Was hollow. Did that mean that there was really some treasure hidden inside? The descendant's self-sword on Chu Kuangren's waist was unsheathed with a clang. A purple sword chi slashed across and landed on the mountain wall. The mountain wall shook and a few broken pink crystals fell off. This is way too hard. Chu Kuangren could not help but exclaim as he stared at the mountain wall. That sword attack earlier could even break an emperor weapon. However, there was no way to break through this mountain wall. Xiao Ai, where is the weakest part of this cliff? According to the analysis, the weakest part of this mountain wall is 1 meter thick. With the strength of Master's sword chi, it is impossible to break it. Then can I only enter the treasure mountain and return empty-handed? Chu Kuangren said unwillingly. According to the analysis, high temperature can soften this crystal mountain wall. High temperature? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Then, he gently raised his hand and a crimson phoenix flame appeared in the middle of his palm. In terms of temperature, how many flames in this world could compare to the divine phoenix fire? Go. After Chu Kuangren had determined the weakest part of the mountain wall, he released the phoenix flame and struck it at the crystal mountain wall. Under the burning of the phoenix flame, the mountain wall visibly softened. Chu Kuangren condensed his Emperor's Qi Daoist patterns and unleashed another sword attack on the softened mountain wall, instantly tearing a hole. Seizing the opportunity, Chu Kuangren entered the hole in a flash. The inside of the mountain wall was still a sea of pink. There was an extremely spacious inner space here. What appeared before Chu Kuangren was a pink tree. Its trunk and leaves were all crystals, and there were countless Taoist patterns intertwining on its body, forming clear veins. Chu Kuangren could not help but shudder at the first sight of the tree. His instincts told him that it was a valuable treasure. Xiao Ai, analyze it. Analyzing. Target Level 1 Secret Realm Origin. Information regarding the secret realm's origin gushed into Chu Kuangren's mind, allowing him to confirm that this was indeed an incredible treasure. The secret realm origin is the core energy of the secret realm. As long as I can refine it, this secret realm will be under my complete control. Not only that, but this secret realm origin contains the mysteries of a world, which will greatly benefit my understanding of the small world. However, refining a secret realm origin was not an easy task. Even a Taoist master might not be able to do it. Chu Kuangren approached the secret realm origin and placed his hand on it. Suddenly, the veins of the tree were fully revealed to him. Countless Taoist patterns intertwined within it, which was extremely mysterious. In order to refine this origin, one must first understand the mysteries within it. If it were any other cultivator, they would feel dizzy and unable to understand the mysteries within even a single glance. However, Chu Kuangren's greatest strength was his perception. Just because others can't refine it doesn't mean I can't. The greatest opportunity of fortune in this secret realm is right in front of me. How can I miss it so easily? Chu Kuangren murmured. He then began to understand the mysteries contained within the secret realm origin. Time passed. 10 days had passed. Inside the secret realm, Bai Juexin led a group of blood tribe cultivators to excavate all kinds of treasures in the secret realm, and their harvest was increasing. That made Bai Juexin feel much better. That firmament star cultivator is all alone. How many treasures can he possibly find in this secret realm? I'm afraid he can't even compare to 1/100th of what we have. Bai Juexin snorted as he sat on a chair. Behind him, 2 beautiful blood tribe ladies were massaging his shoulders. They replied with a smile, "You're right, Prince. He's just a firmament star cultivator. How can he compare to our hundreds of millions of soldiers?" That's right. He's all alone. Forget 100th, even 1,000th would be overestimating him. I wonder where he is now, Bai Juexin said. Then his emperor's thoughts surged out and covered the entire secret realm, trying to find Chu Kuangren. He could not help but frown. He's gone? From what he could sense, Chu Kuangren had disappeared. Did he leave the secret realm? That's impossible. This secret realm's barrier can only be opened by the combined strength of 10 upper heavenly honorables. How did he leave? Bai Juexin's emperor's thought continued to spread out, searching for Chu Kuangren's whereabouts over and over again. However, he could not find anything. Chu Kuangren had really disappeared. How can this be? Does he really have a way to leave the secret realm? When Bai Juexin thought of Chu Kuangren's profound spatial technique, he felt that it was not impossible. At that thought, his face was so gloomy that it looked like it was about to drip water. At first, he thought that Chu Kuangren would not be able to leave the secret realm by himself. He thought that he would first excavate the treasures in the secret realm, then slowly come up with a way to deal with him. But now Chu Kuangren had disappeared? This caused his plan to fail once again. ****. Chapter 723. Forget it. As long as he's still in the extraterrestrial battlefield, I'll find a way to find him. When that time comes, I'll make his life a living hell. A cold glint flashed across Bai Juexin's eyes. He was the son of the Blood King of the Blood Tribe. His status was highly respected, so it was easy for him to find someone in the extraterrestrial battlefield. I've looted most of the treasures in this secret realm, but I still haven't found the origin of the secret realm. It seems like I won't be able to find it. I'll search for a few more days. If I still can't find him, I'll have to leave. It's about time for the firmament star to send someone over. Bai Juexin murmured. Boom. At that moment, the entire pink secret realm suddenly shook. A crack suddenly appeared in the sky above the Blood Tribe cultivators. From the crack, battleships flew out one after another. Bai Juexin smiled when he saw that. What a coincidence. I was just thinking about it, but they're already here. Those battleships belonged to the cultivators from the firmament star. Most of the battleships were labeled with the numbers 16, 17, and 18, which meant that most of the cultivators were from those few fortresses. In fact, those 3 fortresses were the closest to the number 7 space band, so it was reasonable that they were the first to arrive. Among them, the leading Heavenly Honorable was the Guardian General of Fortress number 17, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable. He had personally led the expedition to the secret realm. Why are all the Blood Tribe cultivators gathered together? What's going on? The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable was a little surprised. Are they planning to leave? The bearded commander beside the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable said. That was not a good sign. It meant that the other party had looted most of the treasures in this secret realm. Otherwise, why would they leave? Let me find out where Brother Chu is. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable's Emperor's thought instantly spread out and covered the entire secret realm. However, just like Bai Juexin, he could not find any trace of Chu Kuangren. There were only 2 possibilities. Either Chu Kuangren had left the secret realm, or he had fallen. The first possibility was that if Chu Kuangren had entered the secret realm, he would not be able to open the secret realm and leave on his own. In that case, only the second possibility remained. Thinking of this, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate's face darkened. Beside him, Yan Honghua, who had met Empyrean Ghost Blade on the way here, couldn't help but feel her heart skip a beat when she saw Empyrean Ghost Blade's face. Grandfather, what's the situation? There is no trace of fellow Taoist Chu. Empyrean Ghost Blade shook his head. Hearing this, Yan Honghua's face instantly turned pale. He didn't find it. Does that mean he's already? That's not necessarily the case. Fellow Taoist Chu is an amazing talent. He doesn't seem to be someone with a short life. Ghost Blade Heavenly Lord comforted him. However, even he didn't have much hope in his heart. There were simply too many vampires in front of him. They numbered in the hundreds of millions, and there were many heavenly exalts amongst them. There were even half-step Tao Lords like Bai Juexin. In his opinion, Chu Kuangren, a lower-level heavenly honorable, would never be able to deal with these beings for so many days. Although he was very reluctant to admit it, Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade knew that the other party had most likely perished. Benefactor, I've let you down. Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate sighed in his heart. Chu Kuangren had come to him with the token of his benefactor, Qi Xing. However, Qi Xing had died in the hands of the Blood Tribe, which made him feel very guilty. Brother Chu, I'll definitely avenge you. Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate thought to himself as he looked at the Blood Tribe's warship with an extremely cold, murderous intent. Blood Tribe, prepare to die. Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate roared and took a step forward. The energy on his body exploded, and a giant pitch-black saber shadow formed behind him. Around him, the firmament star Heavenly Venerates also rushed out and activated their lesser worlds one after another, enveloping the entire area. When the Firmament Star cultivators and the Blood Tribe met, there was nothing much to say. Kill. The hatred between the two sides had been going on for countless years, and there was no end to it. Seeing that the Firmament Star Heavenly Venerates had activated their lesser worlds, the Blood Tribe's Heavenly Venerates could no longer sit still and flew into the sky. Haha, Firmament Star cultivators, you're too late. We've already taken most of the treasures in this secret realm. The most you can do now is collect the leftovers that we don't want. That's right. What's the use of coming here? You're just here to die. I'll vent the anger I suffered from that damn guy on you. Die. The Blood Tribe Heavenly Venerates also activated their lesser worlds. One by one, the lesser worlds collided, causing the entire secret realm to shake violently. The Heavenly Venerates fought with the Heavenly Venerates until the sky darkened. Meanwhile, the Emperors had also begun to fight. Kill. Blood Tribe die. We can't let these Blood Tribe members bring back the resources in this secret realm. Brothers, kill. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Long live the Blood Tribe. The cultivators below the Monarch realm clashed together like a torrent. For a time, both sides were locked in a fierce battle. Broken limbs, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Yan Honghua led the red uniform guards and charged into the battlefield below the emperors. One by one, the Blood Tribe members died under their charge. Yan Honghua stabbed out with her spear. The domineering spear force was so overbearing that it blasted a Blood Tribe emperor who wanted to ambush her into pieces. Then she looked at the battle between the Heavenly Venerates in the sky. She knew that the key to the outcome of this battle lay with the Heavenly Venerates. This was especially true for the leaders of both sides. In the sky, the Emperor aura on Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade's body crisscrossed. Dao patterns interweaved and formed a huge pitch-black saber shadow behind him, emitting a terrifying might. His lesser world only covered a radius of 10 miles, but no one dared to approach within 10 miles. The blood origin power on your body is very rich. You must have a high status in the Blood Tribe to have such a degree of blood origin power, Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade said coldly as he looked at Bai Juexin. Blood origin power was a unique power of the Blood Tribe. The richer the blood origin power was, the greater the talent and potential of the other party. Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade had only seen a few blood origin power of Bai Juexin's level in the foreign battlefield in so many years. It's the son of the Blood King of the Bai clan, Bai Juexin. Bai Juexin flew up from the warship and said indifferently. His identity as the son of the Blood King surprised Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade slightly, but the murderous intent in his eyes almost materialized. I believe that killing the son of the Blood King is a big loss for the Blood Tribe. I'm sure the higher-ups of Firmament Star will have a headache after killing the Fortress Master, Bai Juexin said tit for tat. Kill? Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade snorted softly as his murderous intent soared. The pitch-black saber shadow behind him slashed out. As Bai Juexin raised his hand, a dark red greatsword appeared in his hand. With a slash, the dark red sword ray collided with the saber shadow. There was a loud explosion, and the entire secret realm was shaken. Then Bai Juexin released his lesser world. The collision of the lesser worlds of the two Heavenly Venerates caused the surrounding void to distort and explode. Chapter 724. As the master of the stronghold, Ghost Blade Heavenly Master's strength was undeniable. He was definitely a top Heavenly Master. He was also a half-step Dao Lord, and his battle prowess was almost on par with Bai Juexin's. Boom, boom, boom. The small worlds of the two powerhouses collided, causing the void to explode continuously. The power of the world turned into a storm that swept out, shattering the surrounding crystal stone mountains. As expected of the Stronghold Master. You are indeed powerful. Bai Juexin held the large sword in his hand. Then, majestic Emperor Qi gathered in it, and Dao patterns intertwined as he slashed out again. The power of this slash far surpassed the previous sword light, and it displayed Bai Juexin's Dao to the extreme. This was profound. First sword of the 3 slashes of annihilation. Ghost Blade Heavenly Master looked serious as he faced this slash. He raised his hand gently. Ghost Slaying Heavenly Blade. Amidst the rumbling, a large amount of Emperor Qi and Dao patterns once again interweaved into pitch-black saber shadows, and the saber shadows gradually reflected countless ferocious evil spirits. Ghost howls resounded throughout the world, and resentment filled the void, making everyone shudder. The blade shadow and the sword light collided, and the two Dao patterns intertwined before finally collapsing. Both Ghost Blade Heavenly Master and Bai Juexin were also affected by the impact. They were pushed back hundreds of feet and their bodies were also injured. Take another slash. Second sword of the 3 slashes of annihilation. Bai Juexin attacked again, and an even more terrifying sword light erupted. Come on. Ghost Blade Heavenly Master roared, pushing his Emperor Qi to the extreme. The blade shadow and sword light collided again, and the entire secret realm shook violently. After this attack, the 2 powerhouses were injured again. I'll let you see my third slash. Bai Juexin soared into the sky, and a powerful suction force erupted from his body. Countless blood mists surged out of the corpses of the blood race around him, rushing toward him like rivers flowing into the sea. This was the blood race's divine ability, blood darkness power. Bai Juexin's aura skyrocketed with the support of a large amount of blood race origin power. He swung the large sword in his hand, and the mighty sword light descended in an even more domineering manner. Empyrean Ghost Blade took a deep breath, and black mist began to swirl around his body. Countless evil spirits were crawling within the mist. These evil spirits gradually climbed onto his body and turned into countless black patterns. Thousand Ghosts Entanglement. Purgatory slash. Empyrean Ghost Blade roared and used a secret technique to increase his strength. With one slash, thousands of evil spirits seemed to interweave into a terrifying purgatory, and within that purgatory, a resplendent saber light bloomed. When the sword and saber collided for the 3rd time, everyone only saw a brilliant burst of light. Black and red intertwined and dyed most of the sky. Within the light, there were countless Tao patterns circulating. After a while, the saber light purgatory and the tyrannical sword Qi both dissipated. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Master and Bai Juexin hovered in the air. Their auras were much weaker than before and there were many more injuries on their bodies. The result was an internecine outcome. Haha, it's been a long time since someone has been able to injure me to this extent. As expected of the general guarding a fortress. Bai Juexin laughed out loud. Then he flipped his hand and took out a drop of dark red blood. That drop of blood contained surging energy fluctuations, and its terrifying domineering aura enveloped half of the battlefield. Empyrean Ghost Blade's expression changed. Daelord's blood essence. Inside the crystal mountain wall, Chu Kuangren was refining the secret realm's origin. The Tao patterns within the secret realm's origin were too mysterious. Even with Chu Kuangren's level of enlightenment, he could not fully understand them in a short period of time. However, these 10 days were enough for him to refine a portion of it and gain a basic understanding of this secret realm. Now all he needed to do was to use his mind, and all the sceneries and treasures in this secret realm would be presented to him. This secret realm was no longer a secret to him. Not only that, but because he had refined a portion of the secret realm's origin, his cultivation level had also risen to the intermediate heavenly honorable realm. However, that was only the smallest benefit he had gained this time. His biggest gain was that his small world had received a massive upgrade. His understanding of the small world's usage had increased by several levels during the process of learning the secret realm's origin. That was a huge help to him. It's the Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others. Suddenly, Chu Kuangren sensed that a battle was taking place in the secret realm. Seeing that the Empyrean Ghost Blade and the others were about to fall into a disadvantageous position, Chu Kuangren knew it was time for him to make a move. Daelord's blood essence. The Empyrean Ghost Blade could not help but exclaim when he saw the drop of blood in Bai Juexin's hand. That's right. This is a drop of my father's blood essence. None of the firmament cultivators who came to the secret realm today shall leave this place alive. Bai Juexin laughed before he swallowed the drop of Daelord's blood essence into his stomach. An incredibly violent aura erupted from his body. His cultivation level was rising at an insane rate. Soon he had crossed the threshold of the Tao Lord realm. Is this the power of a Tao Lord? So powerful. Bai Juexin was intoxicated by it. Below him, countless firmament star cultivators could not help but feel a sense of despair when they sensed the domineering aura. A Tao Lord was the pinnacle of combat strength in the extraterrestrial battlefield. The difference between a Tao Lord and a heavenly venerable was only one realm apart, but the gap between them was unimaginable. Even 100 heavenly venerables could not compare to half a Tao Lord. Although this drop of blood essence can only keep me in the Tao Lord realm for an hour, it's more than enough to kill all of you, Bai Juexin said calmly. Then he raised his hand and unleashed his little realm, which instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. With a thought, the firmament cultivators exploded one after another. Heavenly venerables, Let's fight this little realm together. The Empyrean Ghost Blade roared. He was the first to unleash his little realm to protect the others. The other heavenly venerables also unleashed their own little realms. The little realms stacked together to form a powerful surge of realm energy. However, the moment it collided with Baijueshin's little realm, the heavenly venerables' expressions changed as they spat out blood one after another. It's too powerful. Is this the Daelord's little realm? Comparing our little realms to the Daelord's is like comparing a river to an ocean. There's no comparison at all. There's no comparison. The heavenly venerables used all their strength to resist Baijueshin's little realm. However, they could not hold on for long in the face of absolute power. As the little realms collapsed one after another, the heavenly venerables gradually became exhausted. In the end, only the Empyrean Ghost Blade was left holding on bitterly. However, even a half-step Daelord like the Empyrean Ghost Blade could only hold on for a little longer than the other heavenly venerables in front of Baijueshin. As the Empyrean Ghost Blade's little realm gradually shattered, Baijueshin's little realm was about to envelop everyone. Countless people revealed looks of despair. No one can save all of you today. Baijueshin sneered as he clenched his fist in the void. His little realm instantly crushed the Empyrean Ghost Blade's last bit of resistance. Is that so? Just as Baijueshin's little realm was about to envelop everyone, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Accompanying this voice was the little realm formed by crisscrossing Dao patterns in the void. Chapter 725. Oh, is that so? A cold voice echoed in the sky. Just as Baijueshin's mini-realm was about to engulf everyone, countless Taoist patterns intertwined in the void and formed a mini-realm that enveloped the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and the others. The collision of the two mini-realms caused the void to distort. Baijueshin also immediately sensed the power of the small world that had suddenly intervened in the battlefield. This voice, is that you? Baijueshin stared into the distance in shock. All he saw was a white-robed figure slowly descending from the sky. With black hair and a gorgeous ancient sword hanging on his waist, he was as handsome as an immortal. Was Chu Kuangren. Upon seeing him, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and Yan Honghua were overjoyed. It's Brother Chu. He's not dead. That's great. Compared to the two's ecstasy, the other cultivators were confused. Clearly they were not familiar with Chu Kuangren. Only the emperors and heavenly honorables who had heard of him seemed to be deep in thought. That man is Chu Kuangren. He can fight against a Dao Lord? If I remember correctly, he only became an emperor a few years ago. How can he fight against a Dao Lord so quickly? This speed of improvement? Is he lying? Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren in bewilderment. Especially Baijueshin. A few days ago, Chu Kuangren could only rely on spatial techniques to deal with him. Now he could fight him head-on. Was this a joke? What have you done? Baijueshin growled and raised his mini-realm to its limit. However, no matter what he did, he could not suppress Chu Kuangren's mini-realm. Isn't it obvious what I've done? My mini-realm is stronger than yours. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Then he gently raised his hand, and the mini-realm's power increased significantly. With a boom, Baijueshin's mini-realm was suppressed. This scene completely shocked the crowd, especially the cultivators of the Blood Tribe, who could not believe what they were seeing. How could this man become so powerful in just a few days? How could he suppress a Daelord's mini-realm? What has he been through in the past few days? Yan Honghua, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable, and the others were also puzzled. More than 10 days ago, he was only a lesser celestial venerable. But now he could fight against a Dao Lord. This rate of improvement was simply too ridiculously fast. You've refined the origin of the secret realm, haven't you? Baijueshin growled. Arcane World Source? Upon hearing this, Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate and the others also sensed something. Upon closer inspection, they realized that Chu Kuangren's small world and the secret realm had a very high degree of integration. It was almost as if they had become one. In other words, Baijueshin was not only fighting against Chu Kuangren's lesser realm but the entire secret realm as well. You guessed it. Chu Kuangren chuckled and did not deny it. This is impossible. Impossible. How did you manage to find the secret realm's origin source? Moreover, even a peak heavenly venerable, no, even a Dao master would not be able to refine the secret realm's origin source in such a short period of time. How did you do it? Baijueshin's expression kept changing. She simply could not believe what had just happened. How can a frog at the bottom of a well know the vastness of the sea and sky? Chu Kuangren looked at Bai Juexin with a look of contempt and disdain. Upon seeing this, Bai Juexin was instantly enraged. He was the Blood Emperor's son, a peak heavenly venerable. Now that he had consumed a Daolord's blood essence, he was even a Daolord. How could someone like him look down on him? So what if you've refined the secret realm's origin source? I'm now a Daolord. I'd like to see how you're going to turn this around. Third obliteration slash. Bai Juexin swung the greatsword in his hand. A dazzling sword light swept out in a mighty manner. Upon seeing this, Chu Kuangren unsheathed the descendant self-sword at his waist and unleashed a slash of his own. Surging Emperor's Qi and Taoist patterns fused with realm energy, which contained an invincible might, and clashed with Bai Juexin's sword ray. However, Chu Kuangren's sword Qi easily shattered Bai Juexin's sword Qi and blasted him into the mountains in the distance. Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. Sending a Daolord flying with a single slash. *CKme. What kind of combat strength is that? It's too insane. You're too weak as a Daolord. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Bai Juexin dashed out from the mountains and glared at Chu Kuangren with his blood-red eyes. His murderous intent was like never before. I'll kill you. Bai Juexin had never thought that he would be so furious today. Never. First, Chu Kuangren used his spatial technique to walk him around like a dog. Now that he had reached the Daolord realm, he was blasted away by Chu Kuangren's sword in front of everyone. His pride as the Blood Emperor's son was almost rubbed against the ground. Third obliteration slash. Bai Juexin swung his greatsword and activated his Emperor's Qi, Taoist patterns and realm energy to the limit. Surges of sword Qi that contained an incredibly majestic force erupted as if they could destroy the world. A single sword Qi was enough to kill a peak heavenly venerable, but there were hundreds of them that were heading towards Chu Kuangren. Faced with such an attack, Chu Kuangren merely reached out his hand and activated the secret realm's origins world energy to form a transparent, crystal-like barrier in the void. Boom, 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 the sword Qi struck the crystal barrier and caused it to explode. Its terrifying might swept across the surroundings and destroyed the surrounding mountains. The ground within a radius of tens of millions of kilometers was filled with craters and cracks. A Daolord's strength could almost destroy the world. However, under such a terrifying attack, Chu Kuangren's crystal barrier was not damaged in the slightest. Not only that, but the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable Yan Honghua and the others behind him were unharmed too. Only the cultivators of the Blood Clan were affected. However, Bai Juexin could not care less. His rage had almost consumed his rationality. All he wanted now was to kill Chu Kuangren with all his might. One sword strike after another was unleashed. However, at that moment, ripples appeared in the void. Streaks of silver-white chains emerged from the void and bound Bai Juexin's limbs, rendering him immobile. Is this a lesser realm? Bai Juexin sensed that the chains did not contain pure realm energy. Instead, they contained a complete lesser realm. Moreover, it was a lesser realm that was enhanced by the secret realm's origin. He can turn a lesser realm into a chain to suppress me? Bai Juexin's pupils shrunk. He was a little shocked. It was rare for a heavenly venerable to be able to shoot a lesser realm like a cannonball. Bai Juexin knew that there were not many people who could surpass him in terms of lesser realms. However, Chu Kuangren could turn a lesser realm into a chain to suppress him. That was much more powerful than when he shot out a lesser realm. Chu Kuangren had not only improved the lesser realm's power. His ability to use the lesser realm had also increased by several levels. Compared to before, it was like heaven and earth. Do you think that's all? Chu Kuangren chuckled. With a lift of his arm, Bai Juexin's sword Qi was moved above Bai Juexin using his spatial conveyor technique and returned to him. Chapter 726. Sword Qi descended from the sky and slashed at Bai Juexin. Now that he was bound by the chains formed by the small world, it was difficult for him to break free, so he had to endure the sword Qi. After a series of loud booms, Bai Juexin's body was severely injured by his own sword Qi. The Dao patterns on his body started to crack. How does your own sword Qi taste? Chu Kuangren stood in the air and chuckled. Given his current cultivation, it would have been very difficult for him to use the space transportation technique to move Bai Juexin's sword Qi. Even if he could do it, he wouldn't be able to control where the sword Qi would land. However, now that he had refined the arcane world source, everything in this arcane world was under his control. Of course, that included space. Damn it, damn it! The arch Qi on Bai Juexin's body surged unceasingly. he shrunk his small world to a radius of 3 meters and forcibly broke free from the chains. He slashed out with his sword. The sword light contained the power of a small world. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren too unleashed a sword attack. In the sword light, not only did it show the reversal of the sun and moon and the falling stars, but it also showed the small world that was enhanced by the power of the secret realm. The collision of sword lights was the collision of worlds. A loud sound echoed as Bai Juexin was sent flying again. Chu Kuangren was practically suppressing Bai Juexin. Ha! Bai Juexin, who had been sent flying, suddenly burst into laughter. His eyes were filled with madness. I admit that I'm no match for you in this secret realm. However, even if I die, I'll drag all of you down with me. Bai Juexin had a deranged look on his face. His body shone brightly, and a tyrannical and violent energy fluctuation spread from his body. The Tao patterns on his body actually began to collapse. When Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade and the others sensed the berserk energy fluctuations emanating from Bai Juexin's body, their expressions changed. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Damn it. Not only the Sky Dome Realm cultivators, even the Blood Race cultivators were panicking. The destruction caused by the self-detonation of a Tao Lord was absolutely unimaginable, and it was even to the extent that it could destroy the entire secret dimension. Of course, the people in the secret world were not spared. Stop him. Empyrean Ghost Blade roared. The Heavenly Venerables activated their small worlds again and pressed down on Bai Juexin. But it was useless. As Bai Juexin raised his hand, the small worlds shattered one after another. Chu Kuangren activated the chains of the small world, but his opponent was already prepared for it. He maintained his small world within a radius of 10 feet. Even if Chu Kuangren's mini-world was reinforced by the secret realm's origin energy, there was no way he could destroy it. All of you shall accompany me in death. Bai Juexin laughed maniacally. His body had already begun to expand, and a peerlessly terrifying aura threatened, easily causing the surrounding void to distort. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed and appeared in front of Bai Juexin. You can't stop me. Bai Juexin roared. Unless Chu Kuangren could kill him in an instant. Otherwise, the self-detonation would not be stopped. But is this possible? His current strength was at the level of a Tao Lord. Even if a Tao Lord personally came, he might not be able to kill him in an instant. Even if Chu Kuangren had the secret realm origin's blessing, he was still just a middle-level heavenly honorable. It was impossible for him to do that. Time halt. Chu Kuangren said calmly. An incredibly mysterious fluctuation appeared in the air, covering a radius of 10 meters with him as the center. Even Bai Juexin's mini-world was affected by this fluctuation and stopped operating. What is this? The moment Bai Juexin's mini-world stopped operating, he could not help but reveal a look of horror. It was the first time he had felt such power. Then, his horrified expression froze on his face. After a sword ray flashed past, everything returned to normal. However, a bloody gash appeared on Bai Juexin's neck. Before the horrified expression on his face could fade, his head was tossed high into the air. His self-detonation process was also interrupted. Everyone was shocked by this scene. In their eyes, the sword attack that Chu Kuangren had used on Bai Juexin was not very mysterious. In fact, it could even be said to be ordinary. That sword attack should not have been able to kill someone at Bai Juexin's level. Yet it had succeeded. Bai Juexin did not react at all when he was faced with that sword attack. He stood there like a log. What happened just now? Someone gulped, feeling incredulous. Only a few people realized what had happened. For a split second, everything around Chu Kuangren stopped changing. Space, matter, and everything else stopped. It's time? He stopped time. How is this possible? Someone can actually manipulate time. This is a power that is even harder to understand than the soul and space. How can such a technique exist? The Heavenly Venerables were dumbfounded. A technique that used time. To think that Chu Kuangren could control such a mysterious power. The prince is dead. Compared to the firmament cultivators, the blood tribe was in a panic. With Bai Juexin's death, they had lost their pillar of support. Run. Some of the upper Heavenly Venerables roared and launched a palm attack at the secret realm, trying to tear open the barrier and leave the secret realm. However, the secret realm barrier that could only be opened by 10 upper Heavenly Venerables was now useless no matter how hard they attacked. Chu Kuangren had gathered the origin energy of the secret realm and his own mini-world to strengthen the barrier. Trying to escape? You must be dreaming. Chu Kuangren sneered. We'll fight you to the death. Some of the Blood Tribe Heavenly Venerables roared and charged at Chu Kuangren. One by one they unleashed their mini-worlds to fight against Chu Kuangren. Using a mini-world in my world? What a fool. Chu Kuangren lifted his arm and unleashed the origin energy of his mini-world and the secret realm, shattering the Heavenly Venerables' mini-worlds one by one. Die. Chu Kuangren's mini-world enveloped the entire battlefield. With a thought, the Blood Tribe, including the Emperors, exploded one by one under the pressure of the mini-world's energy. The Heavenly Venerables only managed to hold on for a little while longer. Not long after, hundreds of millions of Blood Tribe cultivators were killed. Meanwhile, the Firmament Star cultivators who witnessed this massacre were all horrified as they stared at Chu Kuangren, who was hovering in midair in utter shock. After this battle, Chu Kuangren's name would spread across the battlefield. Phew! After the massacre, Chu Kuangren let out a long sigh. He had only refined the secret realm's origin, so the massacre had taken a huge toll on him. The Emperor's qi in his body was almost depleted. However, this battle was worth it. Brother Chu, you're so awesome. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate walked up to Chu Kuangren and laughed. The other captains were amazed too. So you're Chu Kuangren? It's an honor to meet you. I've long heard of how amazing Chu Kuangren is. Now that I've seen you in person, I can see that you live up to your reputation. I'm impressed. It's all thanks to you, Brother Chu. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Brother Chu, you're the main contributor in this battle. No one could deny Chu Kuangren's role in this battle. He had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle and annihilated the Blood Tribe's army. The Heavenly Venerables and Emperors exchanged a few pleasantries with Chu Kuangren before they began to clean up the battlefield. Chapter 727. He had gained a lot from this battle. Apart from killing hundreds of millions of Blood Tribe members, he had also obtained a large number of treasures from the secret realm. Of course, Chu Kuangren's contribution in this battle was the greatest, and he had already obtained the greatest opportunity of fortune. The secret realm origin was more valuable than all the treasures in the secret realm combined. However, he would not give up on the rest of the treasures either. It was impossible for him to take all of them. He could not use all of them anyway. Chu Kuangren took a portion of the secret realm's treasures to ensure that he could improve his strength as much as possible. As for the rest, he handed them over to the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate as his army's provisions. Brother Chu, I thank you on behalf of the extraterrestrial soldiers. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate said solemnly. We're all on the same battlefield now, so there's no need to be so polite. Chu Kuangren said. After spending a few days cleaning up the battlefield, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate even estimated the number of battle points that Chu Kuangren would receive. Chu Kuangren had killed hundreds of millions of Blood Tribe members, including Emperors, Heavenly Venerates, and even Blood King's sons. Excluding those below the Honorable Realm, there were tens of millions of Honorables. Not to mention that there were many sages and Emperors among them. In other words, Chu Kuangren would receive tens of millions of battle points this time, which was more than everyone in the 17th fortress. And this is just the number of enemies killed. The secret realm treasures are also a huge amount of battle points. Brother Chu, you can even enter the top 100 of the 81 fortresses' total battle points leaderboard. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Venerate laughed. Every fortress had its own battle leaderboard, and when all the battle leaderboards were added together, they would form the total battle points leaderboard. Those who could enter the top 100 of the total battle points leaderboard were all famous top-notch cultivators in the extraterrestrial battlefields. Someone like Yen Honghua, who was ranked in the 20s of the 17th Fortress's battle points leaderboard, could not be compared to the top 100. Even the ones in the top 100 had at least tens of millions of battle points. Yen Honghua only had a few million battle points. The top 100 of the total battle points leaderboard? Interesting. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Then, the few of them continued their discussion. When the battlefield was almost cleaned up, everyone decided to head back. However, Chu Kuangren did not leave. Instead, he decided to stay in the secret realm. He planned to completely refine the arcane world source before leaving. Heavenly Venerate Ghost Blade didn't say much about this. Fellow Taoist Chu, don't worry. I'll definitely handle the battle merits and the resources of the secret realm properly for you. Thank you, General. Chu Kuangren was very confident in the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable. After living in the General's residence for a few days, Chu Kuangren knew the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable very well. After the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and the others left, Chu Kuangren returned to the secret realm origin and continued to refine it. Time flowed and a month passed. On this day, when Chu Kuangren walked out of the Crystal Mountain Wall, he was in high spirits. Over the past few days, not only had he completely refined the arcane world source, but he had also absorbed many of the treasures he had obtained from the arcane world. His current cultivation base was no longer comparable to that of the past. Upper Celestial Venerable. Moreover, he was a top-notch Upper Heavenly Venerate. Coupled with the small world that he had obtained after comprehending the origin of the mystic realm, even if he didn't have the freakish ability of stopping time, there was practically no one below the Tao Lord who was a match for him. He was confident that he would be able to defeat someone like Bai Juexing quickly. I'm in a great mood. Let's do a lucky draw to reward myself. Chu Kuangren opened the fantasy roulette and began the lucky draw. Congratulations, host. You've obtained a God-tier technique, Eternal Stellar Physique. Huh. Chu Kuangren was stunned. A God-tier technique. Although it was not the first time he had obtained a God-tier reward, it was still the first time he had obtained a God-tier technique. Moreover, the name of the technique sounded rather impressive. He opened his inventory and saw an ancient book lying inside. The cover of the book was sparkling like the stars in the sky. Extract the Eternal Stellar Physique, Chu Kuangren said. Suddenly, the mysteries of this God-tier technique surged into his mind. After a long time, he finally finished absorbing it. What a powerful technique. This technique definitely surpasses all the Emperor's scriptures I've ever seen. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with joy. It was because the star immortal body was too powerful. The Eternal Stellar Physique was a physique tempering technique. Its cultivation method was extremely shocking, and it was to devour the universe. To devour all the stars in the universe and temper the body. I already have the God-tier immortal body physique. Now, with the addition of the God-tier technique, the Eternal Stellar Physique, once I master both, who in this universe can defeat me? Chu Kuangren could not help but laugh. Then his figure flashed and flew out of the secret realm. In the cold and silent universe, a giant pink bubble floated. At this moment, a white figure flew out of the bubble. It was Chu Kuangren. He came to the top of the pink bubble and willed it. The pink bubble shrunk at an incredible speed and finally turned into the size of a glass ball. Chu Kuangren held it in his palm and absorbed it into his body. At this time, Chu Kuangren had completely refined this secret realm. He could control the size of this secret realm at will and carry it around with him. However, he could not put it into his yin and yang ring. This secret realm was a world after all, and a yin and yang ring could not accommodate such a level of existence. Even if Chu Kuangren's yin and yang ring was legendary, which was the highest grade in firmament star, it could not do anything. Therefore, he could only store it in his body. This was also the safest and most reliable way. The energy contained in this secret realm is not to be underestimated. In the future, if I don't like anyone, I can just throw this secret realm at them. No one below the Tao Lord level can stop me. Chu Kuangren smirked. After keeping the pink secret realm, he looked at the seventh asteroid not far away with a hint of greed in his eyes. It was like a glutton who had seen a rare delicacy. Shall AI analyze this asteroid for me? Is the energy contained in it enough for my Eternal Stellar Physique to achieve initial success? Connecting to the universal consciousness, analyzing, a mysterious thought swept across the entire seventh asteroid. Grade 2 asteroids contain rich minerals and geothermal energy. It's not enough for Master's Eternal Stellar Physique to achieve initial success. At most, it can only advance to about 70%. 70%? Chu Kuangren was a little disappointed. However, he quickly threw that disappointment to the back of his mind. With so many stars in the universe, why would he be afraid of not having enough body-tempering resources? Let's start with the seventh asteroid. Chu Kuangren smirked. Then his figure turned into a stream of light and pierced through the surface of the seventh asteroid, arriving at the planet's core. There was hot lava flowing here and the temperature was extremely high. However, Chu Kuangren did not care. He activated the Eternal Stellar Physique, and an indescribably terrifying suction force instantly erupted from his body. The surrounding heat, dust, and rocks quickly rushed towards him like rivers flowing into the sea. Under the effect of the immortal stellar physique, these energies were quickly converted into the astral energy needed to temper his body. However, Chu Kuangren felt that this process was too slow. Universal Cauldron Physique. Chapter 728. Universal Cauldron Physique. Absorb it. Chu Kuangren once again activated the Universal Cauldron Physique. This physique allowed one to quickly absorb any kind of energy between heaven and earth, and of course, that included the celestial energy. With the help of the universal cauldron physique, Chu Kuangren's speed of absorbing the celestial energy greatly increased, and the seventh asteroid gradually collapsed. Looking from the sky above the planet, the asteroid was constantly trembling at this moment. Its surface was exploding and huge cracks crisscrossed the ground, with countless amounts of magma gushing out of them. Meanwhile, the various energy substances contained within the planet were gushing towards the interior of the planet. Logically speaking, such a huge surge of energy should have caused the planet to explode. However, the seventh asteroid did not. Instead, it was collapsing inwardly. After that huge surge of energy substances entered the interior of the planet, it disappeared completely as if it was devoured by a horrifying beast. And that horrifying beast was, of course, Chu Kuangren. As the seventh asteroid was gradually refined by Chu Kuangren, the entire asteroid belt was plunged into an unprecedented tremor. The various super-small asteroids and asteroids that were floating in the cosmic void collided one after another. Some of the asteroids that were closest to the seventh asteroid were also affected by that horrifying suction force and were gradually sucked in as well. Another month had passed. Only some cosmic dust was left where the seventh asteroid used to be. In the void, a white-robed figure was sitting cross-legged with an incredibly dense celestial radiance circulating around his body. From afar he looked like a bright star. All of a sudden, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes and the celestial radiance on his body retracted. He slowly got up, and the surrounding void began to tremble violently as if it was withstanding an extremely horrifying force from his movements. At that moment, a gigantic meteorite that was thousands of kilometers in size was hurtling towards Chu Kuangren from afar. Chu Kuangren stood in the air without dodging. He gently raised his hand, clenched his fair and slender fingers into a fist, and punched towards the meteorite. There was a loud explosion. The entire meteorite shattered into countless fragments. Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. Some of the shattered meteorite fragments hit his body, but they did not cause him any harm at all. This physical body is already this terrifying even though it's not even at the initial stage. How terrifying will its power be once it reaches the full stage or even the peak stage? Chu Kuangren murmured. His eyes were filled with anticipation. At that time he wouldn't even need to use any techniques. He would only need to throw a light punch to easily shatter the star. Even an Empyrean or Tao Lord could be annihilated with a single punch. Even slaying immortals was not impossible. There should be some asteroids nearby that I can absorb. I'll go back after I raise the star immortal body to the small success stage. Chu Kuangren murmured. His monarch will surged out like a tidal wave, and in the blink of an eye, the information of all the celestial bodies within a radius of tens of millions of miles appeared in his mind. He locked onto an asteroid with no signs of life and flew towards it. Another month had passed. Within that 1 month, Chu Kuangren had absorbed a few more asteroids. Although the amount of energy provided by them was not as massive as the seventh asteroid, it was still enough for his immortal stellar physique to reach the initial mastery realm. Minor completion, greater completion, peak, perfection, these are the 4 stages of the immortal astral body. If I want to advance from minor completion to greater completion, the amount of astral energy required is more than 10 times that of minor completion. If I want to reach peak, the amount of astral energy required is even more unimaginable. As for perfection, TSK, I wonder if I can achieve perfection after absorbing an entire star? Chu Kuangren looked into the distance at the gigantic crimson glowing sphere. That was the star, also known as the sun. Cultivators were extremely fearful of the sun. This was because some high-level cultivators knew that the star, which was also known as the sun, was the source of all energy. The reason they were able to cultivate was all because of the sun's light and heat, as well as the constant release of energy. In other words, without the sun, firmament star would not have given birth to life, much less a cultivator civilization. However, the sun, which was revered by countless cultivators, was now being targeted by Chu Kuangren as if it was food. TSK, forget it. This sun is the energy source of this galaxy. If I absorb this sun, who knows if there will be other cultivator civilizations in this galaxy. However, I'm afraid the living beings in Firmament Star won't be able to escape this calamity. Chu Kuangren shook his head and said. He planned to wait until he had grown to a certain level before leaving this galaxy and heading to other galaxies in the universe. Then he would see if there was a chance for him to absorb a few stars. Firmament Star and even the entire galaxy civilization did not know that they had somehow escaped this calamity. All right, it's time to return to Fortress number 17. Chu Kuangren murmured as he took out a battleship. This was left behind by the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable and the others before they left. Upon entering the battleship, Chu Kuangren opened the battleship's barrier and the star map. After confirming the route, Chu Kuangren steered the battleship back to Fortress Number 17. Fortress Number 17. General's Residence. Grandfather, how was it? Have the orders from above been passed down? Yan Honghua asked the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable nodded and said, after the Sky Honorable Assembly's discussion and the Taoist Master's instructions, the resources obtained from the secret realm will be distributed equally to the 16th, 17th, and 18th fortresses. Among them, the 17th fortress will take the majority. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable laughed out loud. He was in a great mood. That was true. This time even he, the fortress master, had personally gone into battle. Although Chu Kuangren was a lone soldier, he had lived in the general's residence for so long, so he could be considered part of the 17th fortress. Hence, he had contributed greatly in this battle. Of course, they would take the majority of the resources. What about Brother Chu's battle merits? Yan Honghua asked again. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable glanced at Yan Honghua and revealed a meaningful smile. You seem to care a lot about Brother Chu. Yan Honghua's gaze was a little evasive as she said, Brother Chu saved all of us, so it's only natural that I care about him. Is that all? What else? Yan Honghua replied. Sigh, what a shame. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable sighed. I thought you'd finally come around and wanted to have a passionate relationship. Grandfather, what are you talking about? That's impossible. I won't think about these things before I get my revenge. Besides, he already has a family. A hint of loneliness flashed across Yan Honghua's eyes as she spoke. What? You already have a family? The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable was a little surprised to hear that. He then said regretfully, that's a shame. I really do think highly of Brother Chu. Throughout the entire extraterrestrial battlefield, he's the only one who's worthy of you. Alright, back to my previous question. What did the higher-ups say about Brother Chu's battle merits? Yan Honghua continued to ask. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable only raised a finger. Yan Honghua understood and sucked in a breath of cold air. That's a lot. Yes, it won't be long before Brother Chu's name appears on the combat leaderboard. Besides that, the Sky Honorable Assembly will give him a special reward. When that time comes, someone will come looking for him. Chapter 729. Fort Number 17. Outside the general's residence, a sword ray suddenly appeared. The cultivators in the general's residence all looked at the newcomer warily. It was a swordsman in a white robe who looked very young. However, the aura that emanated from his body was so cold that even the soldiers in the general's residence felt a prickling sensation on their skin. Someone tell me your name. One of the soldiers said coldly. Fort Number 18, Jianghu of the swordsman tribe. Jianghu said indifferently. Many people's eyes narrowed when they heard that name. Some of the cultivators on the street also stopped in their tracks. Jianghu ranked 98th on the battle credits leaderboard. Why is he here? Some cultivators could not help but exclaim. Some cultivators who did not know who Jianghu was immediately awed when they heard that he was ranked 98th on the battle credits leaderboard. In all the forts, battle credits represented a person's status. The higher the battle credits, the more respect and reverence one would receive. This was especially true for cultivators who could squeeze into the top 100 of the battle credits leaderboard. In our Fort Number 17, the only person who can squeeze into the top 100 of the battle credits leaderboard is the general. Yes, that's right. Jianghu is from the swordsman tribe. What's he doing here? Before the soldiers could go in to report, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable had already sensed Jianghu's arrival in the general's residence. He walked out and laughed. Taoist Wuxia, what kind of wind is this? Why are you here? Jianghu's battle credits were not low, so even the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable did not dare to slight him. When Jianghu saw the Ghostly Blade Heavenly Honorable, the fort master, he gave him the appropriate amount of respect. He cupped his fists and said, Greetings, General Ghostly Blade. I'm here to look for Chu Kuangren. Oh, why are you looking for Brother Chu? The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable was slightly surprised. Chu Kuangren had only arrived at the extraterrestrial battlefield not long ago. Since when did he have anything to do with Jianghu? I'm here to look for him and fulfill my promise of battle. Jianghu said calmly. However, his words were like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Many people were in an uproar. Who could make Jian Wuk come all the way here to challenge him? Chu Kuangren, this name sounds quite familiar. I think I've heard it from the army camp recently. What is this person's background? For Jian Wuk to think so highly of him, could it be that he is also in the top 100 of the war merit list? That's not right. I can practically recite the top 500 names on the battle merit leaderboard backwards, but I've never heard of the name Chu Kuangren. Ghost Blade Heavenly Lord frowned and said, "Is there some misunderstanding between Taoist Wuk and Taoist Chu? I am willing to mediate between them. This is a matter between me and Chu Kuangren. You don't have to say anything more, General. Can you invite him out now?" Jian Wuk said indifferently. Fellow Taoist Chu hasn't returned yet. When will he return? I don't know. Empyrean Ghost Blade shook his head. If that's the case, I'll wait for him at Fort 17. If he comes back, I'll have to trouble you to pass on my message. I'll be waiting for him at the dueling arena to complete the duel. Jian Wuk said calmly. Then he turned around to leave. Ghost Blade Heavenly Lord stopped him and tried to persuade him. Brother Wuk, please don't be rash. Both of you are the most important combat forces in the extraterrestrial battlefield. If you get hurt because of a moment of anger, it'll be a great loss to the human race. Chu Kuangren was no longer the same as before. His combat strength was so strong that he could even kill someone like Bai Juexing. Although Jian Wuk was a powerful upper-level Heavenly Lord, Ghost Blade Heavenly Lord felt that he was still 1 or 2 levels lower than Chu Kuangren. He was no match for Chu Kuangren. However, Jian Wuk had obviously misunderstood. He said solemnly, "Don't worry, General Ghost Blade. Chu Kuangren is a rare talent. I know that. I'll be careful not to harm his life when I attack." General Ghost Blade smiled helplessly at his words. "Who's afraid that you'll harm his life? I'm just afraid that he'll accidentally kill you." Seeing that his persuasion was ineffective, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Lord could only sigh helplessly. He looked at Jian Wuk's departing figure and shook his head. "Brother Wuk, I wish you good luck." Not long after, news of Jian Wuk's challenge to Chu Kuangren spread throughout Fortress Number 17. Countless people were talking about it. After all, those in the top 100 of the Battle Merits leaderboard were considered to be top-notch figures. Besides that, Chu Kuangren's name had also gradually entered the public's attention. Many people were investigating this person's information. As the investigation went deeper, the people could not help but feel incredulous. Supreme Sage? Resisted the invasion of the demonic realm twice? Killed several emperors when he just ascended to the emperor realm? Ascended to the heavenly honorable realm in a few years? Was he even human? If the information is correct, then this Chu Kuangren is truly unprecedented. He stopped the invasion of the demonic realm twice. Just this alone is enough to earn him countless battle merits. That's right. If it weren't for him, Firmament Star would have fallen and become a demonic land. What's the point of us staying in the extraterrestrial battlefield then? Not bad. Tisk Tiske, I can't believe Firmament Star has such a terrifying genius. But according to the information, this person's cultivation level is only a lower-level heavenly honorable. Can he be a match for Jian Wuk? I don't think so, but Jian Wuk won't be able to kill him either. The higher-ups won't want to see a genius like him get hurt. That's true. Countless people were watching the upcoming battle. Today, a battleship arrived outside Fortress Number 17. Chu Kuangren got out of the battleship and kept it away. Then, his figure flashed and he used the spatial conveyor technique to arrive outside the general's residence. The soldiers' eyes lit up when they saw Chu Kuangren. "Brother Chu, you're back." "Yes, is the general around?" "He's inside. Please go in, brother." The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable had once said that Chu Kuangren would not be guarded in any part of the general's residence. He could come and go as he pleased. After entering the general's residence, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable walked up to Chu Kuangren and gave him a big hug. "Brother Chu, welcome back." Chu Kuangren smiled. The few of them then entered the Great Hall to catch up. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable brought up Jian Wuk's challenge. "Brother Chu, what kind of grudge did you have with Jian Wuk?" "It's nothing much. I just killed the commander of the swordsmen." Chu Kuangren laughed. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable's lips twitched. The commander of the swordsmen was at least an honorable realm cultivator, and there were not many of them in the swordsmen. Why did Chu Kuangren make them seem like they could be found anywhere? Then Chu Kuangren told him about Jian Wuk. The Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable, who was initially sympathetic towards the swordsman, suddenly stood up and slammed the table. Ungrateful people deserve to die. How dare this Jian Wuk come here and challenge you to a duel? How shameless of me to call him my friend. The ghost blade Heavenly Honorable was furious. After all, Jianwu did not only expose Chu Kuangren's secret but also his precious granddaughter, Yan Honghua. No. Chapter 730. Brother Chu, if you're not interested in this guy's challenge, I'll help you get rid of him, the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable said. Because of Jian's betrayal, the ghostly blade Heavenly Honorable did not have a good impression of the swordsman. He even wanted to personally teach Jianwu a lesson. However, Chu Kuangren smiled and said, "There's no need to trouble you, General. Since this guy is here for me, let me go." After all, he did have a duel agreement with him. Fort number 17. At the arena. Large-scale battles between orthodoxies were not allowed in the extraterrestrial battlefield. That would only result in internal strife and weaken the Firmament Star's resistance against the Blood Tribe. Hence, the arena was established. Whether it was a personal grudge or a battle between orthodoxies, they could all be settled through the arena by sending out a small number of people. In every fort there was an arena. These arenas were usually filled with people. After all, there were hundreds of millions of cultivators living in a fort. It was inevitable that there would be conflicts, so there was an endless stream of people coming to the arena. A young swordsman stood in one of the arenas. The swordsman had a long sword at his waist, and his aura was extremely sharp. This person was Jianwu. He had been waiting for Chu Kuangren in the arena for 10 days. In these 10 days, there were also some swordsmen who came to challenge him. Some of them wanted to step on him and climb up the ranks. There were also some who simply wanted to verify their sword principles with him. Jianwu did not reject any of these people. He accepted their challenges one by one and defeated them one by one. In these 10 days, 98 swordsmen had been defeated by Jianwu. Among them there were many upper-level Heavenly Honorables. In these 10 days, Jianwu had fully proven his strength. Buzz! The long sword at Jianwu's waist suddenly vibrated twice. He slowly opened his eyes. Someone's here to challenge me again. In front of him stood a young swordsman in a green robe. He was holding a long sword inlaid with jewels in his hand. Challenger, state your name. I'm Qingyi Jian. I'm here to experience Brother Wu's sword techniques. Bring it on then. Jianwu said calmly. The surrounding cultivators all turned their attention to Jianwu's arena with a playful look in their eyes. Look, another person is going to challenge Jianwu. TSK, how many has it been? There are still people who dare to challenge him. This is the 99th. Whoa, he's almost at the 100-win streak. As expected of someone in the top 100 of the war merit list. How many moves do you think this person can take? He should be able to take a dozen moves. Judging from his aura, this person is also an Empyrean. I should be able to fight for a while. Everyone discussed animatedly. Jianwu and the swordsman had already started fighting. Their swords clashed in the air, and the sword chi that burst out hit the walls of the dueling arena. Not long after, the swordsman who challenged Jianwu was defeated before he could even unleash his pocket world. He was sent flying by a sword strike. You're too weak. Jianwu sheathed his sword and said indifferently to the swordsman. Hearing his words, the swordsman's expression became extremely gloomy. He wanted to refute, but when he opened his mouth, he couldn't say a single word. How could he refute it? The other party had only used a few sword strikes to defeat him. Do I have the strength to refute? Damn it. The swordsman stood up and left unwillingly. When he was about to walk out of the arena, a young man in white walked towards him. After being defeated by Jianwu, this swordsman was in a bad mood. He didn't even give way. He raised his hand and sent out a wave of energy. Get lost. He was an Empyrean. If this wave of energy hit him, even an emperor would be overturned. However, when his energy landed on the figure in white, it was like a cool breeze hitting a piece of granite. It didn't have any effect. How can this be? The swordsman's expression changed. However, before he could react, he felt his shoulder being grabbed by someone. He instinctively activated his emperor's energy to resist. However, no matter how much he activated his emperor's energy, he couldn't move that fair and slender palm. He felt his entire body suddenly fly into the air. After a moment of dizziness, he crashed into the wall of the arena. The surrounding cultivators were dumbfounded. They only saw the young man in white stretch out his hand and grab the swordsman. Then he threw the swordsman away as if he was throwing trash. The swordsman couldn't resist at all. After all, he was an Empyrean. Asterisk gulp. Asterisk who was this person? Asterisk the crowd swallowed their saliva. They carefully sized up the man in front of them. He had a tall and slender figure. He was dressed in white with a gorgeous long sword hanging on his waist. His black hair reached his waist. He was handsome and extraordinary. The person in front of them looked like a celestial being. Coupled with the fact that he had casually thrown an Empyrean away, it wasn't hard to imagine that he was definitely a top-notch expert. The eyes of the surrounding female cultivators were all transfixed. Oh my God, where did this little brother come from? He's too good-looking. Moreover, he's so strong. He easily threw an Empyrean away. There aren't many people in the entire fortress who have such strength. He's so handsome and so powerful. If he was from our 17th fortress, he would have become famous long ago. Why don't I know him? After so many years, I finally found my Mr. Right. Sister, wake up! Compared to the exclamations of the surrounding cultivators, Jianhu's eyes lit up and a powerful aura erupted from his body. This aura swept the entire arena. Some of the starry-eyed female cultivators snapped out of their daze. What's with Jianhu's reaction? Could it be, Chu Kuangren, you're finally here? Jianhu stared at Chu Kuangren and said. The crowd came to a sudden realization. No wonder he had such a big reaction. It was because his opponent had arrived. He's Chu Kuangren. Tisk, looks like he's quite strong. Of course. How else would Jianhu challenge him? The crowd looked at him expectantly. Jianhu had waited for Chu Kuangren for 10 days. As for them, they had also been waiting for this battle for 10 days. Since you've come knocking on my door, how can I not come? I've said that if you want to fight, I'll accept your challenge anytime. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Then he suddenly sighed and said, however, I'm starting to regret it now. Jianhu raised an eyebrow. Oh, you're afraid? No, it's because I've realized that you're no longer a worthy opponent. That's why I'm regretting it. After all, I don't want to waste my time on a weakling. Chu Kuangren looked like he was in a difficult position. He did not expect his strength to improve so quickly during this trip to the secret realm. Initially, Jianhu was still a worthy opponent. However, the gap between him and Jianhu had now widened. Chu Kuangren, you're too arrogant. Jianhu's face turned pale. He was starting to get angry. After all, he was an upper-level heavenly honorable of the swordsman race. He was ranked in the top 100 of the battle merits leaderboard. Aside from the Dao Lords, he was definitely one of the best in the foreign battlefields. Since when was he called a weakling? Forget it. I'll let my strength do the talking. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and arrived at the arena. No. Chapter 731. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and arrived at the arena. He stood with his hands behind his back and said, 3 moves. Oh, are you trying to say that you can defeat me in 3 moves? Jianhu gradually controlled his emotions and adjusted his battle state to its peak. When he heard Chu Kuangren say 3 moves, he was not angry. Instead, he laughed and looked at Chu Kuangren as if he was looking at an idiot. Defeat him in 3 moves. Are you kidding me? He was an upper Dao Lord. Although he was not at the level of a half-step Dao Lord like the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable or Bai Juexin, if he went all out, even a half-step Dao Lord like the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable would not dare to say that he could defeat him in 3 moves. However, Chu Kuangren, who was in a lower realm than Jianhu, dared to say such a thing. What a joke. Jianhu was not the only one who thought so. The others shared the same thought. Some of the female cultivators looked at Chu Kuangren sympathetically. Sai, his face is pretty good, but there's something wrong with his brain. No, you've misunderstood. Chu Kuangren smiled. I don't want to defeat you in 3 moves. I only need 1. What I meant was that I'll let you make 3 moves first. As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was stunned. Then an uproar broke out. *CKMe, are you kidding me? This kid is too pretentious. Why didn't he fly out of the universe's boundary to defeat Jianhu in 1 move? That's right. Does he know what kind of existence he's facing? This fella is simply too ignorant. I thought he was some great figure, but it seems like he's just a braggart with a little bit of strength. Sigh, it's such a pity that his face is ruined. Go Jianhu. Beat him to death. Go cutie. Remember to protect your face when you get beaten up later. It's such a good face, it'd be a pity if it gets ruined. The crowd was in an uproar as they were all shocked by Chu Kuangren's speech. Some of them scolded him for being shameless while some of them supported Jianhu. Some of the female cultivators could not bear to part with Chu Kuangren's face. Yan Honghua, who came to watch the battle, could not help but shake her head. Can't this guy keep a low profile? Beside her, Bai Lishua chuckled. I think Cutie has quite a character. Besides, he's really strong. After all, they had experienced the battle in the secret realm. They had a much better understanding of Chu Kuangren's strength than anyone else. In the dueling arena, Jianghu, who had just regained his composure with much difficulty, once again lost control of his emotions after hearing Chu Kuangren's words. His face turned green with anger. Control his emotions? Control my ass. Right now, all he wanted to do was to press Chu Kuangren against the ground. Watch my sword. The jet-black sword in Jianghu's hand instantly pierced through the void, leaving behind a black arc of light. It was wrapped with a large number of Emperor Qi Dao patterns. It was like a sword light that shot out from the darkness, piercing straight out. The sword was aimed at Chu Kuangren's chest. But he stood there, not moving an inch. Only when the sword was about to reach him did he raise two fingers and clamp the pitch-black sword in a way that no one could understand. The Dao runes and monarch Qi on the sword completely dissipated. Chu Kuangren had caught Jianghu's sword between two fingers. The cultivators who were prepared to watch the show were all stunned. They could not believe what they had just witnessed. Some of them even rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were dreaming. However, the truth was that Chu Kuangren had really caught the sword between his fingers. How is this possible? The crowd gulped. Their doubts were also the same for Jianghu. How could this be? How could his sword be blocked so easily and in such an inconceivable way? Small realm. Jianghu's eyes narrowed when he noticed something. A faint purple glow circulated around Chu Kuangren's two fingers. The Taoist patterns intertwined, and it seemed to contain a small realm. Some of the heavenly honorables who were watching the battle also noticed this. They could not help but look at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Compared to an emperor realm emperor, a large portion of a heavenly honorable's combat strength was reflected in the small realm. The strength of the small realm and its utilization were all important factors that affected a heavenly honorable's combat strength. Even for these heavenly honorables who had immersed themselves in the small realm for countless years, it was their first time witnessing someone using the small realm on two fingers. It was unbelievable. It's not easy for a heavenly honorable's small realm to grow bigger or smaller. To be able to control the small realm to a radius of a kilometer is already considered proficient, but to have it condensed at the tip of one's finger. This is unbelievable. This guy's utilization of the small realm is so good that even a Dao Lord might not be able to match him, let alone a heavenly honorable. How terrifying. The heavenly honorables were in awe, but Jianghu, who was in the arena, felt an unprecedented pressure. He let out a low growl and released his own small realm, wanting to fight against the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips. However, he realized that the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips was ridiculously strong. His small realm could not even move an inch. In the end, it was Chu Kuangren who released his fingers. Jianghu immediately retreated. He looked at Chu Kuangren fearfully. I can't believe you've improved so much in such a short time. How shocking. You still have two more moves. Take advantage of this opportunity and see if you can hurt me, Chu Kuangren said as he hooked his finger. Jianghu's lips twitched twice. He felt that Chu Kuangren's every word was provoking his Taoist core. He could not help but be enraged and he was about to lose his rationality. Calm down, calm down. Jianghu took a deep breath and forced himself to control his emotions. He then channeled the Emperor's essence to its limit. Following that, he unleashed his small realm and enveloped the entire arena. Profound technique Dark Void Slash. Profound technique unleashed. Jianghu unleashed his sword, and a pitch-black sword ray that carried a destructive force tore through the void and headed towards Chu Kuangren. Within the sword ray, Taoist patterns intertwined and looked extremely mysterious. It was as if there was a black hole within it. That sword ray was powerful enough to destroy half of a small planet. However, Chu Kuangren's expression was still as calm as ever. He pointed a finger at the pitch-black sword ray, and the small realm at his fingertips landed on the sword ray. However, the sword ray that could destroy a planet could not destroy the small realm at Chu Kuangren's fingertips. On the contrary, it was gradually disintegrated by the small realm. Not long after, the black sword ray turned into nothingness. Chu Kuangren stood where he was unscathed. His two fair and slender fingers were like white jade that had a crystalline luster. However, when the crowd looked at those two fingers, it was as if they were looking at the world's most terrifying killing weapon. They could not help but shiver. They all knew that if Chu Kuangren wanted to, he could easily destroy a small planet with those two fingers. You still have one more chance. Dark Void Piercer. Jianghu held the pitch-black longsword in his hand and stabbed it out. The sword ray was straight and as fast as a meteor. This move it's useless. Chu Kuangren shook his head and smiled as he gently pointed a finger. The tip of his finger and the tip of the sword came into contact. The pitch-black long sword in Jian Wuck then turned into light spots and dissipated. A figure then emerged from the light spots and slashed at Chu Kuangren from another direction. That was Jian Wuck's true trump card. Shadow Clone Sword. Chapter 732. Heaven Origin Dojo? Chu Kuangren looked at the Daelord's emissary in confusion. The Daelord's emissary seemed to know that Chu Kuangren did not understand what he was talking about, so he explained, "The Heaven Origin Dojo is a firmament secret realm that has been passed down since ancient times. The Heaven Origin Dojo was a secret realm that was nurtured by the firmament star. In this secret realm, cultivators' Taoist enlightenment speed would be greatly increased, and there was a chance that they could learn their own profound mysteries. Even the Tao Lord would benefit greatly after entering the Heaven Origin secret realm. However, it was extremely difficult to open this secret realm as it required 10 Tao Lords to activate it at the same time. Moreover, it could only be opened for about 10 days each time. Hence, one had to be extremely careful when opening this secret realm. Opening the Heaven Origin Dojo requires the combined strength of 10 Tao Lords. Even in the extraterrestrial battlefield, there are not many who can enjoy this honor. Brother Chu, I'm really envious of you." The Daelord's emissary looked at Chu Kuangren with envy. Chu Kuangren smiled. "Thank you very much, Tao Lord. If that's the case, when shall we depart?" Chu Kuangren was quite interested in the Heaven Origin Dojo. After all, who would not love a place that could increase their Taoist enlightenment speed? "Yes, the secret realm will open in 10 days. It will take us about 10 days to get there. Brother Chu, please get ready. We'll depart tomorrow." "All right then." Chu Kuangren nodded. The next day, Chu Kuangren departed with the Daelord's emissary. Along the way, he heard some information about the Tao Lords from the Daelord's emissary. He found out that there were a total of 24 known Tao Lords in the extraterrestrial battlefield. These 24 people, including humans and beasts, were the pinnacle combat strength of the firmament star and the backbone of the battlefield. Among them there were 3 strongest Tao Lords. They were the Heavenly Yellow Tao Lord, the Dharma Tao Lord, and the Bright Moon Tao Lord. The Tao Lords are the strongest in the firmament star. Every Tao Lord is a sage who has existed for countless years and represents the pinnacle of cultivation in the firmament star. The Daelord's emissary said with admiration. Chu Kuangren was deep in thought as he listened from the side. In the past, he had once chatted with the Chaos Tao Master in the Burial Emperor's coffin about the ancient times, so he knew some things about the Tao Master. However, the Chaos Tao Master had mentioned a few Tao Masters to him, but he hadn't heard about the rest from this Tao Master's envoy. Among the 24 Tao Masters, other than the Black-Yellow Tao Master, whom he had heard about from the Chaos Tao Master, the rest were nowhere to be found. Could it be that the Chaos Tao Master's old friends had already passed away? Chu Kuangren arrived at the Sky Origin Dojo with doubts in his heart. In the Tianyuan Dojo, on a small planet near the 30th Fortress, some people had already gathered there. Each of these people was filled with an incredibly surging Emperor's aura, and the weakest among them was an upper-level heavenly venerate. Just like Chu Kuangren, they too wanted to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. The Heavenly Taoist Rite was a method that the Taoist masters used to reward the cultivators with outstanding battle merits. This time, Chu Kuangren had provided a large number of secret realm treasures to the extraterrestrial battleground, killing hundreds of millions of blood tribe cultivators. This battle achievement could not be said to be small. Hence, he was given the opportunity to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. The rest of the people, like him, had also achieved amazing battle merits and were given the opportunity to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. Not all of them had achieved battle merits recently, but they might have done so in the past or slowly accumulated over a long period of time. It was just that they were put together by the Taoist masters to enter the Sky Origin Dojo. When Chu Kuangren arrived, the eyes of many cultivators lit up as they looked at him curiously. Some of them were familiar with Chu Kuangren, but at the same time they were unfamiliar with him. They were familiar with him because they had already paid attention to him before he grew up, but they were unfamiliar with him because this was their first time meeting him in person. Greetings, fellow Taoists. When Chu Kuangren arrived, he greeted the crowd. These people in front of him could be considered his seniors. Before he came to the extraterrestrial battleground, these people were already fighting for the firmament star. Chu Kuangren still had some respect for these people. "Ah, nice to meet you, Brother Chu. A few days ago, I saw your name suddenly appear in the top 50 of the combat leaderboard. I was wondering if I could see you here, and here you are. Little brother, you look so handsome. A charming female cultivator walked up to Chu Kuangren and reached out to touch him from head to toe. Her eyes were filled with a wolfish gaze. Chu Kuangren could not help but shudder at the sight. He subtly took 2 steps back. Senior, please mind your manners. Hee hee, the female cultivator giggled and licked her red lips. Little guy, you're really interesting. I really want to eat you up. As she said that, she could not help but reveal a fluffy white fox tail behind her that rubbed against Chu Kuangren's body. She was a demon and her true form was a heavenly fox. You sly fox, don't scare me away. Beside her, a burly man laughed and said to Chu Kuangren, I'm Honorable Sky Bull of the Ox Demon Tribe. Nice to meet you, Brother Chu. The burly man had a horn on his head. He was a demon. Honorable Sky Bull, Chu Kuangren said with a fist salute. As he spoke, that fluffy foxtail brushed against his cheek and she even wanted to stuff it into his mouth. However, Chu Kuangren grabbed it and said helplessly, Senior, you're making it hard for me to do this. Little brother, you're hurting me. The fox demon's face was flushed red, which made her look extremely charming. She kept her foxtail and said, Then let me introduce myself. My name is Hu Fei, but you can call me Lil Fei too. You're the only one who's allowed to call me that, little brother? She winked at Chu Kuangren. Nice to meet you, Brother Hu. Chu Kuangren pretended not to see it. The honorable ones beside him also came up to introduce themselves. Without exception, these people were all in the top 50 of the battle points leaderboard. Even some of the Fort Lord's battle points were not as good as theirs. Everyone's here, right? At that moment, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded. In the void, a white figure suddenly appeared. It was an old man with white hair and a glint in his eyes. Upon seeing the old man, everyone at the scene could not help but straighten their faces. Even the mischievous Hu Fei put away her charm and bowed to the old man like everyone else. Greetings, Taoist Master. Yes, the 12 of you honorable ones have outstanding battle points, so we'll be opening the Sky Origin Dojo for all of you. Remember, you only have 10 days, so make the most of it. Yes, Honorable Lord. The crowd was filled with anticipation. Then, the Taoist Master gently raised his hand, and a large white door appeared in the void. Everyone, let's open the dojo together. The Taoist Master said. Spiritual chi surged between the heavens and the earth, and 9 different rays of light that contained mysterious Taoist markings came from the sky. Just a glance at them was enough to dazzle the honorable ones at the scene. Those were the Taoist Master's Taoist markings. The 9 Taoist Masters' energy struck the white door. Meanwhile, the white-haired Taoist Master unleashed a palm attack. With a loud bang, the white door slowly opened. Chapter 734. The white door suddenly opened. A mysterious aura spread out, and everyone could only see a vast expanse of whiteness beyond the door. It was a world that was hard to fathom. Is this the Sky Origin Dojo? Time is of the essence. Let's hurry in. Chu Kuangren and the others turned into streams of light and entered the Sky Origin Dojo. The group arrived at a vast expanse of whiteness. It was as if there was nothing in this space, but upon closer inspection, there were countless mysterious Taoist patterns scattered around. These Taoist patterns seemed to contain everything in this world, including the origin of the world. I can feel that my understanding of the Tao is increasing rapidly in this space. It's clearer than ever before. Me too, time is of the essence. Let's begin to understand our own Tao. The heavenly honorables began to sit with their legs crossed. Chu Kuangren did the same. The 12 heavenly honorables each found a place to gain enlightenment. Among them, Chu Kuangren's enlightenment was the strongest. In fact, it far surpassed the other 11 heavenly honorables. It did not take long for him to find the feeling. Time passed and soon 2 days had passed. Taoist patterns flowed on the surface of Chu Kuangren's body. The level of its mysteriousness had exceeded the limits of an heavenly honorable. This is the ultimate mystery? The Tao Lords who had been watching the Sky Origin Dojo were shocked. Originally, he was the first person in the history of the human race to possess the ultimate Emperor Yuan. I never thought that he would be able to comprehend the ultimate Emperor Yuan in the Tianyuan Dojo. This is truly shocking. One of the Tao Lords could not help but exclaim. The other Tao Lords shared the same sentiment. They had been watching Chu Kuangren's growth all this while. However, they did not expect his growth to be so much faster than they had imagined. It had only been a few years, and he had already become a heavenly honorable. He could even kill a Tao Lord. Although Bai Juexin had used a Tao Lord's blood essence to forcefully increase his cultivation level, he was still a Tao Lord. Although Chu Kuangren had the support of the secret realm origin, the fact that he could kill Bai Juexing was enough to shock them. This kid must have become an emperor in the Burying Emperor Coffin. TSK, the Burying Emperor Coffin. That's the place where the Chaos Tao Lord is sealed. I wonder if this kid's ultimate emperor energy is related to the Chaos Tao Lord. At that moment, one of the Tao Lords suddenly said. Upon hearing this, the other Tao Lords fell silent. Alright, regardless of whether he is related to the Chaos Tao Lord or not, let's not talk about the Chaos Tao Lord in case we offend him. A Tao Lord said. They seemed to be wary of the Chaos Tao Master. The others didn't say anything else. It only took him 2 days to comprehend the ultimate profoundness. There are still 8 days left. I wonder what other surprises he will bring us, one of the Tao Lords suddenly said with anticipation. Let's continue watching. In the Tianyuan dojo, Chu Kuangren realized that he had reached a bottleneck in his understanding of the Tao after he had gained insight into the ultimate mystery. Even with the support of the Tianyuan dojo, it was still extremely difficult for him to continue comprehending, so he woke up. He raised his hand and a Tao pattern circulated in his palm. It was the manifestation of his Tao. His comprehension of the Tao was not much weaker than the Tao Masters. The only difference between them was cultivation. Cultivation was easy. With the universal cauldron physique, as long as he had enough resources, it would be a piece of cake for him to ascend to the Tao Lord level. In the eyes of outsiders, the highest cultivation realm in the firmament star since the beginning of time was nothing to Chu Kuangren. My understanding of the Tao is no longer weaker than the Tao Lords. All I need to do is find resources to improve my cultivation. There are still 8 days left. Even if I continue to comprehend, I won't make much progress. This Tianyuan dojo is a little disappointing. Chu Kuangren gently shook his head with disappointment in his eyes. He glanced at the other heavenly honorables. Everyone was making good use of their time to carefully comprehend their own Tao. Unlike Chu Kuangren, who still had time to lament. There are still 8 days left. I need to find something to do. Chu Kuangren murmured. Suddenly he saw a Taoist pattern from the corner of his eye. It was a Taoist pattern that was faintly discernible in this white space. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued and he said in his heart, Xiao AI, help me analyze the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo. Yes, master. The spirit of omniscience Xiao AI began to operate. Analyzing, in the outside world. The Tao Lords who had been paying attention to the changes in the Tianyuan dojo suddenly sensed something. They looked at each other in shock. Do you guys feel anything? It's a strange feeling. The Tianyuan dojo seems to be being spied on by some unknown entity? I can't find the source of this anomaly. What's going on? The Tao Lords were inexplicably panicked. For countless years, they had stood at the peak of the firmament star's cultivation civilization. Very few things were out of their control. However, now that the Tianyuan dojo under their control was experiencing an unknown anomaly that they could not understand, it made them feel uneasy. Calm down. The Tianyuan dojo is a secret realm left behind by the heavenly Tao. It's not something that can be easily spied on. Perhaps this is the Tianyuan dojo's own anomaly. One of the Tao Lords said. Upon hearing that, everyone nodded and felt slightly relieved. Meanwhile, in the Tianyuan dojo, Chu Kuangren used the spirit of omniscience to analyze the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo and made a huge discovery. He realized that the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo were similar to his own heavenly punishment Taoist patterns. They both contained the power of the heavenly Tao. Understanding these Taoist patterns might be able to bring my heavenly punishment Taoist patterns to the next level, Chu Kuangren murmured with anticipation in his eyes. The heavenly punishment Taoist patterns were an important force against the deities. Although the strong cultivators of the deities were still sealed, who knew if they would break free in the future. Therefore, Chu Kuangren had never stopped studying the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns. How could he not be tempted by the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo? Since he wanted to do it, he began to understand the Taoist patterns in the dojo. These Taoist patterns were very mysterious, and they were even more difficult to understand than the secret realm origin that he had previously studied. However, Chu Kuangren did not give up so easily. He compared the heavenly punishment Taoist patterns with the Taoist patterns in the dojo and began to analyze and understand the Taoist patterns in the dojo. In less than 2 days he was already in a good state. The 10-day period was almost up. On this day the entire Tianyuan dojo suddenly shook. The heavenly honorables who were in closed-door meditation to understand their own Taoism were alarmed. What's going on? Why is there such a strange movement in the dojo? The Tao Lords were also shocked by this sudden turn of events. They tried to investigate and realized that the Taoist patterns in the Tianyuan dojo that had never changed since ancient times had begun to change. The Taoist patterns circled around Chu Kuangren on their own, and countless mysterious Taoist patterns also flowed out of Chu Kuangren's body. They emanated a majestic aura that resonated with the Taoist patterns in the dojo. At that moment, the heavenly Tao of the distant firmament star also resonated. Chapter 735. What the hell is going on? Why is there such a change in the Tianyuan dojo? What exactly did Chu Kuangren do? Forget it. Let's get the celestial sovereign out first. The Tao Lords looked at this scene in shock. After that, they grabbed the heavenly honorables out of the dojo. Soon, Chu Kuangren was the only one left in the dojo. He sat in the middle of the Tao pattern in the dojo, and his own heavenly punishment Tao pattern resonated with it. Vaguely, they seemed to be fusing together. The Tao Lords couldn't help but be stunned. It must be known that they had once studied the Tao markings in the Tianyuan dojo in an attempt to gain complete control of the Tianyuan dojo through this method. However, they had failed after countless years. However, Chu Kuangren was currently merging those Taoist patterns. This won't do. If we allow him to continue, I'm afraid he'll take away the entire Tianyuan dojo. He's stealing the power of Tianyuan dojo. How did this guy do it? The Tao Lords discussed among themselves. The Heaven Origin Dojo was extremely important as it was one of the most important secret realms in the firmament star. It was also the method they used to reward the heavenly venerables. If Chu Kuangren were to take it, they would suffer a great loss. We have to stop him. However, this person possesses the heavenly punishment Tao runes. Now that the heavenly Yuan Dojo's Tao runes have fused with him, it might be some sort of opportunity for him. Wouldn't it be inappropriate for us to stop him? The Tianyuan Dojo is about to be destroyed. I can't care about it anymore. Chu Kuangren is the first cultivator in the history of the firmament star to possess the ultimate emperor essence. Not only that, but he also has the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. If we recklessly destroy his opportunities of fortune, what should we do if he becomes hostile towards us? A Tao Lord suddenly said. Chu Kuangren's potential was too great. It was so big that when it matured in the future, it might even be able to influence the entire situation of the foreign battlefields and end this war that had lasted for countless years. It would not be a good thing for either Chu Kuangren or themselves if they were to form a grudge against such a person. This guy, why did he do this all of a sudden? A Tao Lord said in dissatisfaction. Contact the others and ask for their opinions. Let the other celestial venerables leave first. Honorable Empyrean Bull, Hu Fei, and the other heavenly honorables gathered together and stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. I've always heard that Chu Kuangren is good at surprising people. Now it seems that it's true. What did he do to make the dojo react like this? Just as the heavenly venerables were discussing, the Tao Master's voice suddenly rang out. All heavenly venerables retreat from Tianyuan planet. The heavenly honorables looked at each other. They knew that the Tao Lords were going to do something to Chu Kuangren, but they didn't have any chance to intervene. They were well aware of the importance of the Sky Origin Dojo, so they would not be surprised if the Taoist masters were to fall out with Chu Kuangren for the sake of this dojo. Fellow Taoist Chu is the future cornerstone of the Outerium battlefield. I hope that the Taoists can be more lenient towards him when making decisions. Hu Fei gritted her teeth and suddenly said. Everyone was very surprised to hear her words. They did not expect her to suddenly plead for Chu Kuangren. Tiske, don't tell me you've fallen for him. Honorable Empyrean Bull was amazed, but he then turned to the Taoist masters and said, the fox is right. Fellow Taoist Chu's talents will definitely play a huge role in the Outerium battlefield in the future. I hope that the Taoist masters can be more lenient towards him. The others looked at each other and a few of them spoke up as well. The Taoist masters remained silent for a while before he said indifferently, we'll make our own decisions regarding this matter. You may all leave now. Upon hearing that, everyone glanced at Chu Kuangren before they left. Not long after, 24 figures appeared in the void. They were the 24 known Taoist masters of Firmament Star, and they were the ones who firmly controlled the situation on Firmament Star. The Sky Origin Dojo has really changed. It's indeed merging with this person's Taoist patterns. I believe it won't be long before this Sky Origin Dojo is either going to have a new owner or be destroyed. This Sky Origin Dojo has never truly belonged to anyone, so how could it have a new owner? Alright, what do we do now? Let's make a decision. Everyone first studied Chu Kuangren's current situation, then they discussed how to deal with this matter. Most of the Taoist masters had their eyes on three people. They were the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, the Dharma Taoist Master, and the Bright Moon Taoist Master. These three were also the strongest among the 24 Taoist masters. We cannot afford to lose the Sky Origin Dojo. Stop him from continuing. A tall man in a golden robe said. This person was the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, one of the three Taoist masters. Everyone's eyes flickered when they heard him. They did not expect him to be so decisive. I thought you wouldn't even pretend to think about it. I didn't expect you to be so eager to kill him without even pretending. A chuckle was heard. The Dharma Taoist Master, who was beside the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, spoke. He was dressed in a white robe, had a handsome face, and had a sense of elegance and elegance. The Sky Origin Dojo must be in our hands. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said indifferently. Don't make it sound so nice. Aren't you trying to kill Chu Kuangren because you think he might be related to the Chaos Taoist Master? Oh Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master, it's been so many years but you're still so petty. The Dharma Taoist Master sneered. He glanced at Chu Kuangren and said, Chu Kuangren's potential is immeasurable. He'll definitely grow into a force that can control the extraterrestrial battlefield in the future. I won't allow anyone to hurt him in front of me. Then you'll have to watch as the Sky Origin Dojo gets out of control. The Sky Origin Dojo versus a force that can affect the situation of the extraterrestrial battlefield. Do you need me to teach you how to choose between these two choices? That's only in the future. No one can predict what will happen in the future. Who knows if he'll encounter any accidents along the way? Since ancient times, have there been so many sky prides who have fallen along the way? The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said. As long as you don't play any tricks in the dark, he'll definitely grow into a Taoist Master under my protection, the Dharma Taoist Master said. If that's the case, then let's vote. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said. The Dharma Taoist Master's heart sank when he heard that. Then he looked at the Bright Moon Taoist Master. The Bright Moon Taoist Master was silent for a while before he said, This is the human race's matter. The Taoist Masters of the demon race shall remain neutral. The Bright Moon Taoist Master and the other three Taoist Masters gave up. Now there were only 20 Taoists left. Now those who don't agree with interrupting Chu Kuangren, please raise your hand. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said. Apart from the Dharma Taoist Master, only a few people raised their hands. As for the others, most of them just stood there and looked down. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master was the strongest among the three Taoist Masters, and he had the most authority as well. Half of the 24 Taoist Masters followed his lead. Alright, the result is obvious. The Sky Origin Dojo cannot be lost. Now let's interrupt Chu Kuangren. The Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master said. However, at that moment, a cold voice rang out. Oh, a vote? I wonder if I have the right to vote? Chapter 736. Oh, a vote, huh? I wonder if I have the right to vote? A cold voice suddenly rang out. A woman dressed in white slowly walked over. She was only a heavenly honorable, and her aura was not even as powerful as Chu Kuangren's. However, everyone could not help but narrow their eyes when they saw her. The Dharma Taoist Master could not help but reveal a look of joy. It's her. I can't believe she would suddenly appear here. This aura, it's so weak. Rumor has it that when she became the Eye of the Array, she used some kind of secret technique to sever a part of her soul and reincarnate. Now it seems that it was true. This should be her reincarnation. The first female emperor Luo Shui. It was the former headless female emperor Luo Shui. She was now a heavenly honorable. However, her heavenly honorable cultivation was not the reason why she dared to face the Taoist master. Her true strength was her other identity. The first female emperor. Brother Luo Shui, do you want to protect Chu Kuangren too? Yes. Luo Shui replied calmly. She looked at the heavenly yellow Taoist master and said, If you dare touch him, I'll kill you once I return to the Taoist master realm. You. The heavenly yellow Taoist master's expression darkened. To him, the current Luo River was not even worth mentioning. He could easily kill a heavenly honorable with one hand. However, Luo Shui was the first female emperor, and she had used her body as the formation core to protect the heavens for 12 eras. Just this merit alone was something that he could not ignore. Not to mention that although Luo Shui had become the formation core, she had not fallen yet. Who knew if she would come out in the future? Alright, if you want to protect Chu Kuangren, that's fine. But even with you, you only have 7 votes. I have 14 votes here. What if you include us? A voice rang out. A green-robed figure appeared in the void. The Taoist masters could not help but exclaim when they saw him. The first heavenly executioner. Tiske, I can't believe he's here too. Interesting. This Chu Kuangren is quite powerful. The Dharma Taoist master, heavenly executioner, and Luo Shui are all standing up for him. The green-robed man, who was the first heavenly executioner, smiled and said, "This person possesses the power of heavenly punishment, and I'm curious about his transformation. So we, the heavenly executioners, will protect him." The mysterious Yellow Path master's face darkened. Seeing that he didn't reply for a long time, the green-robed man frowned. What's wrong? Don't tell me we don't even have this little bit of weight? Or do you think that the heaven's executioner can no longer intimidate you? The green-robed man's tone gradually deepened. In the depths of the universe, several terrifying auras erupted. It seems like some people are getting arrogant. Interesting. Back then, when I was fighting the gods, some of you couldn't even hold your swords properly. Tao Lords, even though we're injured right now, but if we were to fight, then believe it or not, I'll trade 1 for 2 with all of you. I'll protect this child. If any of you dare to touch him, I'll make you pay even if I have to risk my life. The heavenly executioner's imperial will came from the cold universe. Cold killing intent filled the entire planet of heaven's origin sector. The expressions of all the Tao Lords changed. The 9 heaven executioners were the personal guards of the human king back then. Their achievements in the battle against the gods were still fresh in their minds. Shen Huang, tell us, do we have the right to vote? The green-robed man said indifferently. Yes. In the end, the Shen Huang Tao Lord could only nod helplessly. Very well, now it's 16 to 14 votes. No one is to stop this kid from continuing to merge with the heaven's Taoist marks. The green-robed man said. Then, his figure turned into countless light spots and disappeared. The Tao Lords did not leave. They stayed where they were and watched as Chu Kuangren continued to merge with the heaven's Taoist marks. They wanted to see what would happen to him. The 10-day limit had long passed. However, because of Chu Kuangren's existence, the heaven's Taoist marks did not close. That surprised the Tao Lords. Meanwhile, inside the dojo, the heaven's Taoist marks and the heavenly punishment Taoist marks were gradually merging, forming a vast surge of heavenly Tao energy. The heaven's Taoist marks were formed from a portion of the energy left behind by the heavenly Tao, and Chu Kuangren's heavenly punishment Taoist marks are also part of the heavenly Tao's energy. What will happen when the two of them merge? The things that this person has done are too unimaginable. I wonder how far he'll grow in the end. While the crowd was discussing, the heavenly punishment Taoist marks had completely merged with the heaven's Taoist marks. Chu Kuangren suddenly opened his eyes. His pitch-black eyes did not have the slightest human emotion. They were as cold as ice. A majestic heavenly aura emanated from his body, and the Tao Lords at the scene felt like they were being suppressed by this heavenly aura. They had a feeling that it was ridiculous, that the person standing in front of them was not a human. It was the heavenly Tao. In the depths of the universe, several light orbs were suspended in the air. These light orbs were the heavenly executioners. They were also paying attention to Chu Kuangren, and when they saw his appearance after merging with the heaven's Taoist marks, the light orbs could not help but tremble violently. One of the light orbs could not help but blurt out, "King!" on the heaven origin planet. The heavenly yellow Tao Lord, Dharma Tao Lord, Luo Shui, and a few other Tao Lords could not help but narrow their eyes when they saw Chu Kuangren's current appearance. How is this possible? This appearance? Is this the human king? Impossible, impossible. The human king is dead and he's been dead for many years. How can he appear again? The heavenly yellow Tao Lord's pupils trembled violently. For more than a dozen yuans he had never lost his composure like he did today. Vaguely, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Meanwhile, in the Taoist hall, Chu Kuangren was experiencing his current state. He felt as if he had connected with some kind of existence, and every move he made contained an unfathomable power. With a thought, Taoist rhymes began to sing around him. Dragons and phoenixes appeared, golden lotuses danced in the sky, deities and demons knelt, and the 10,000 sages worshipped him. An endless amount of domineering aura spread from his body. The Tao Lords could not help but feel their mouths go dry. With every move he made, heavenly Tao transformations appeared. This was no longer something that could be explained by power. Could this person really have transformed into the heavenly Tao? Shall AI analyze my current state? Chu Kuangren commanded in his mind. Yes. The omniscient spirit, Shao AI, began to analyze. Master, you are currently connected to the firmament star's heavenly Tao. You can use yourself as a medium to exercise part of the heavenly Tao's authority, including the heavenly punishment, birth of living beings, and heavenly transformations. After receiving the analysis, Chu Kuangren was speechless. Using the heavenly Tao's authority? What kind of power was that? It could be said that all living beings in Firmament Star were born from the heavenly Tao, and now he could use the heavenly Tao's authority. Did that not mean that he had become everyone's tyrant? At that moment, the Heaven Origin Dojo began to collapse. The Taoist patterns in the dojo were formed from the heavenly Tao's power, and now that Chu Kuangren had absorbed and refined that power, the dojo naturally no longer existed. Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat when he saw that. No way. Will the Tao Lords fight me to the death? He swore that he only intended to study the Taoist patterns and perfect the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern. Who knew that these two Taoist patterns would suddenly resonate and merge together? Chapter 737. Chu Kuangren activated his heavenly Tao mode. He nervously walked out of the collapsed Heaven Origin Dojo and arrived before the Taoist masters. Then he saw a familiar figure. Hey, it's her. Chu Kuangren was surprised to see Luo Shui here. The Taoist masters gradually regained their senses. Chu Kuangren, what happened to you just now? One of the Taoist masters asked impatiently. Chu Kuangren answered honestly. Everyone was in disbelief when they heard that. How did you manage to merge with the Heaven Origin Dojo's Taoist mark? The heavenly yellow Taoist master had regained his composure and asked. I just comprehended it, then merged it. The Taoist masters were speechless. Comprehended it? Then merged it? Could such an answer be any more perfunctory? This kind of opportunity of fortune has its own destiny. It's hard to explain. Chu Kuangren, you don't have to say anything more. Come with me. Luo Shui said. Chu Kuangren glanced at the Taoist masters and realized that they had no intention of stopping him. He could not help but be shocked. He had just destroyed the entire Heaven Origin Dojo. Now that Luo Shui had said that he would bring him away, and the Taoist masters did not even try to stop him, it seemed that Luo Shui's identity was not simple. Chu Kuangren did not refuse and left the Heaven Origin planet with Luo Shui. Chu Kuangren. Human ruler? What's the relationship between these two? The heavenly yellow Taoist master could not help but mutter to himself as he watched Chu Kuangren leave. Deep within the universe, the heavenly enforcers were also deep in thought. Why did he look so similar to the king just now? The king used the same power too. Perhaps it's because of the original heavenly punishment power. Anyway, let's keep an eye on this kid's growth first. The heavenly enforcers talked for a while before they fell silent. Outside the Heaven Origin planet, a battleship was sailing. On the deck of the battleship, Chu Kuangren and Luo Shui stood together. Luo Shui was the first to speak. You took my head and made me search for it for a long time. Kid, aren't you going to say something? Senior, you've misunderstood. In your state at that time, I didn't dare to easily return your head to you. I was still very weak at that time. If you came over and slapped me to death, wouldn't I have nowhere to cry? Chu Kuangren said helplessly. Hearing his words, Luo Shui chuckled. That's true. Senior, how did you become like that? Chu Kuangren asked curiously. When this was mentioned, Luo Shui's eyes revealed a strand of coldness. Kid, let me warn you. You can't completely trust Tao Lords. Especially that dark yellow Tao Lord. He's a hypocrite who pretends to be sanctimonious. Could it be that Senior became like that because of him? That's not the case, but it's definitely related to him. It was another emperor who attacked me while I was breaking through to the Empyrean realm. Fortunately, I was lucky and cultivated a secret technique, which was why I was able to survive after my head was separated from my body. Luo Shui said calmly. It was as if she was not the one who had been beheaded. Who's that emperor? Black-Yellow Taoist Master's disciple, the current master of Fortress 31, Heavenly Venerate Selfless. Luo Shui said. So that's the case. Chu Kuangren nodded and took out the Chaos Emperor scripture. Senior, this Emperor scripture was entrusted to me by the Chaos Taoist Master to pass to you. Master? Luo Shui seemed to be in a trance for a moment. She looked at the Emperor scripture in her hand and shook her head. Unfortunately, I'm not a Taoist master yet. I still can't break the Emperor burying coffin and save my master. Aren't those Taoists going to help? The dark yellow Taoist master has a grudge against my master. He can't wait for my master to die in the emperor burying coffin, so why would he save my master? Why would he let others do it? As for some of my master's old friends, they're like me, protecting Firmament Star with their bodies as formation cores. Luo Shui looked at Firmament Star as she spoke. In the sky above Firmament Star, there was a huge golden light barrier. It was the great formation that protected Firmament Star from the Blood Tribe's invasion. It had protected Firmament Star for 12 eras. The hatred heavens. Very few people knew about it. Back then, a huge price had to be paid in order to set up this great formation. Including Luo Shui, the 9 strongest Taoist masters in Firmament Star had worked together to become the formation cores. Only then did the formation was completed. If we didn't become the formation cores, the dark yellow Taoist master wouldn't have the right to speak in Firmament Star. Luo Shui scoffed. Let's go. Follow me to fortress number 31. Since I'm back, there are some things that need to be settled. Fortress number 31 was where the heavenly venerable No Hatred resided. She was also the person who had caused Luo Shui to be beheaded. A few days later, a warship arrived at fortress number 31. Luo Shui went straight to the general's residence in the fortress. When he raised his hand, a golden palm print fell like a meteor from the heavens. With a loud bang, the entire general's residence shook. One by one, figures flew out. These people were all heavenly venerables. They stared at Luo Shui and one of them said coldly, "How dare you offend the general's residence? Do you have a death wish?" Luo Shui said indifferently, "I'm only here to kill the heavenly venerable No Hatred today." "You want to kill the general? Dream on. Which fortress are you from? You're committing treason. The general has been guarding fortress number 31 for so many years. Who do you think you are to kill him just like that? Who do you think you are?" Luo Shui glanced at these people, and a disdainful smile appeared on her beautiful face. These people wanted to talk about merits with her? In the battle against the gods, she had slain countless gods that were sealed in the seal. Against the Blood Tribe, she became the formation core and protected Firmament Star for 12 eras. These merits were not something that the heavenly venerable No Hatred could compare to. Whoosh! A figure walked out of the general's residence. It was a middle-aged man in black armor with a majestic aura. When he saw Luo Shui, his eyes narrowed slightly. "You're finally back. Since I'm back, you should know that you're about to die. Since you've contributed to humanity, I'll allow you to kill yourself." Haha, as expected of the greatest empress. Even though you're reincarnated, you're still as graceful as before. However, you're only a middle heavenly venerable now. Do you think you're a match for me? The heavenly venerable No Hatred laughed. Then the aura of a half-Daylord erupted. With a lift of Luo Shui's arm, an incredibly powerful lesser world suddenly appeared and suppressed all the heavenly venerables present. Even the heavenly venerable No Hatred could not help but be shocked. "It's true that I'm a middle heavenly venerable, but don't forget that I was once a Tao Lord. My understanding of the Tao is real. You want me to surrender? Impossible. Fight." The heavenly venerable No Hatred made his move. Similarly, a lesser world erupted from his body. The other heavenly venerables were about to attack too, but at that moment, an invisible barrier separated them from the heavenly venerable No Hatred and Luo Shui. Where did this barrier come from? Who's there? This barrier seems to contain the lesser world's energy. One of the heavenly venerable attacked the barrier. Amidst the explosion, the barrier remained intact. Chu Kuangren stood not far away and smiled at the heavenly venerables. "You guys should just watch from the sidelines." Chapter 738. You guys shall watch this battle from the sidelines. Chu Kuangren stood not far away and said calmly. Meanwhile, Luo Shui and Heavenly Honorable Heartless had already entered the void to battle. Their mini-worlds erupted and shook the void. The battle was intense. One was a half-step Tao Lord, while the other was a reincarnated Tao Lord. Chu Kuangren was also watching the battle. Once Luo Shui fell into a disadvantageous position, he would make his move. However, Luo Shui was indeed the reincarnated Empress. Although her cultivation level was far from Heavenly Honorable Heartless, she was able to fight on par with her opponent with her insights as a Tao Lord. She even seemed to be able to suppress her opponent. "Looks like I don't have to do anything." Chu Kuangren smiled. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Honorables of Fort 31 wanted to rush into the void to help when they saw that their general was at a disadvantage. However, with Chu Kuangren around they could not do anything. The Heavenly Honorables looked at each other. Let's deal with this person first. That's right. Let's go. The Heavenly Honorables flew towards Chu Kuangren, and one after another, their mini-worlds erupted and enveloped Chu Kuangren. All sorts of mystical techniques locked onto him. Dragon Exploring Palm. Divine Light Sword Art. Killing Fist Universe Shaker. The Heavenly Honorable mystical techniques shook half of the fort. Countless cultivators were shocked. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren, who was locked onto by the Heavenly Honorable small worlds and targeted by the mystical techniques, stood still and let the mystical techniques hit him. He gently lifted his arm, and mysterious Taoist patterns intertwined to form a giant vortex that absorbed all the mystical techniques. I told you to watch obediently. Don't you understand? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. With a shake of his palm, the mystical techniques that were absorbed were rebounded back at the Heavenly Honorables. Boom boom boom. After a few explosions, the Heavenly Honorables were sent flying. What's with this mystical technique? Premium mystical technique? No, I'm afraid it's above the premium mystical technique. Ultimate mystical technique. The Heavenly Honorables' eyes trembled violently. Mystical techniques were something that countless emperors could not understand in their lifetime. Since the beginning of the Firmament Star's cultivation history, not many people had been able to understand it. Now, an ultimate profundity had appeared before their eyes. Also, the usage of your lesser realms is too crude. Let me teach you guys a lesson, Chu Kuangren said. He snapped his fingers. In the void, faint purple chains suddenly flew out. These chains were condensed from the purest Emperor Qi. After being transported by spatial transportation techniques, they could move freely in the void. However, that was not the strongest aspect of these chains. The most terrifying aspect of these chains was that they contained Chu Kuangren's lesser realm. Chu Kuangren named this technique the World Lock. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the purple World Lock shuttled through the void. The Empyreans present simply couldn't keep track of the trajectory of the World Lock. They were somewhat flustered. What the hell is this thing? Damn it! The chains shuttled back and forth, binding the limbs of several Empyreans in a short while. They hung in midair, unable to move. This scene caused the hearts of all the cultivators in the fortress to palpitate. Heavens, that's a heavenly sovereign. The celestial sovereign is actually suspended in midair? How did he do that? Who's this young man? I know him. He's Chu Kuangren, ranked 31st on the battle points leaderboard with 100 million battle points. What? 100 million battle points? Our fortress's general only has a little over 70 million battle points, and he has 100 million battle points. Chu Kuangren. It's him. The cultivators in the fortress discussed among themselves. Chu Kuangren did not care at all. The Empyreans were suspended in midair with the World Lock, unable to resist at all. In the void, the battle between Luo Shui and Empyrean Honorable Heartless was coming to an end. Luo Shui used his Dao understanding that far surpassed Empyrean Honorable Heartless to forcefully suppress his opponent. After seizing an opportunity, a black long sword suddenly appeared in his hand and slashed across Empyrean Honorable Heartless' head. With a ripping sound, his head was separated from his body. Empyrean Honorable Heartless' head was tossed high into the air. Luo Shui used his long sword to catch the head and said indifferently, I can live without my head, but you can't. As soon as he said that, the Emperor's chi surged. The head exploded into a mist of blood. Empyrean Honorable Heartless had fallen. After slaying his enemy, Luo Shui walked out of the void. She also saw the Empyrean Honorables who were suspended in midair by the World Lock, and she could not help but reveal a strange look in her eyes. You're quite good at using the little realm. It's all right. Chu Kuangren smiled faintly. When the Empyrean Honorables saw that Empyrean Honorable Heartless was killed, one of them yelled angrily, all of you are dead. Empyrean Heartless is the disciple of the Heavenly Yellow Taoist Master. Now that you've killed him, there will no longer be a place for you in the extraterrestrial battlefield. Just you wait for your deaths. Luo Shui did not care at all when he heard his arrogance. At that moment, golden clouds suddenly surged in the distance, and within the clouds, a golden figure suddenly appeared. It was a man with a golden jade token in his hand and a crown on his head. Upon seeing him, the Empyrean Honorable laughed out loud. It's the Taoist Master's emissary. The Taoist leader's emissary is here. You're all dead now. The man flew up into the sky and glanced at the Empyrean Honorable. However, he quickly looked away and announced, By the Taoist leader's decree from now on, Fort 31 shall be under Luo Shui's control. All soldiers in the fort shall obey her orders without fail. Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard the decree. Their first reaction was, "Who is Luo Shui?" However, they then stared at Luo Shui. "It can't be, can it? It can't be her, can it? Congratulations, General Luo Shui." The Taoist leader smiled at Luo Shui, confirming everyone's suspicions. The Empyrean Honorable, in particular, had their mouths and eyes wide open in disbelief. Not only did she kill Empyrean Heartless, but she also became the new master of Fort 31, their new superior. Could this be any more ridiculous? However, the truth was right in front of them and they had no choice but to believe it. They knew very well. Luo Shui's background was most likely even more terrifying than Empyrean Heartless. Otherwise she could not have done what she did. "Chu Kuangren, let them go," Luo Shui said. "All right." Chu Kuangren snapped his fingers and the world lock instantly disappeared. When the Heavenly Honorables regained their freedom, they looked at Luo Shui with complicated gazes. There was doubt and shock in their eyes. Since the Taoist leader had personally issued the decree, the outcome was set in stone. They had no room to refute and could only obediently accept their fate. "Greetings, General." The Heavenly Honorables walked up to Luo Shui and bowed. They could not help but feel a little anxious. They wondered if the general would blame them for their impudence just now. Luo Shui glanced at them and said, "The grudge between me and Empyrean Heartless will not implicate anyone else. All of you are still the commanders of the general's residence. Just do what you're supposed to do from now on." "Thank you, General." The Heavenly Honorables heaved a sigh of relief. Then Luo Shui looked at the Taoist leader and said, "Go back and thank the Taoist leader for me. I'll accept this gift." Among the 24 Taoist leaders, the only one she was more familiar with and trusted was the Taoist leader. "Thank you, General. I shall take my leave then." The Taoist leader left after passing down the decree. Chapter 739. Luo Shui took over Fortress 31, and many people knew that the greatest empress of all time was gradually returning. The return of the Luo River and the taking over of Fortress 31 is a good or bad thing. What kind of impact will it have on the current structure? It would be fine if he's just an ordinary fort master. However, this person is the former Water Path Master. Furthermore, he's the Chaos Path Master's proudest disciple. There's an irreconcilable enmity between him and the Black-Yellow Path Master. In front of the blood race, I hope they can let go of their grudges. And that's all we can do. It's just that, with the personality of the Black-Yellow Sect Master, is it possible? On a certain planet. The mysterious Yellow Path Master looked in the direction of the fortress in the distance. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. "What a Luo Shui. You killed Heavenly Lord Heartless the moment you returned. You're trying to show me your strength." The current Luo Shui was merely an Empyrean. He did not pose much of a threat to him. Moreover, he knew that even if Luo Shui had recovered to the Tao Lord realm, she wouldn't act rashly against him. At the very least, she would absolutely not do something that would cause the top-rate combat strength of Firmament Star to suffer while under the threat of the Blood Tribe. However, this did not mean that he could sit back and relax. Once Luo Shui becomes the Taoist Master, he'll definitely rescue the Chaos Taoist Master, coupled with the Dharma Taoist Master. When that happens, my influence in the Firmament Star will be greatly reduced. I can't let that happen. Luo River, Primal Chaos, and Human King. Why are you guys always haunting me?" The Dark Yellow Path Master murmured. His current status in the Firmament Star could be said to be supreme. In the extraterritorial battlefield, almost half of the 24 Taoist Masters followed his lead. Hundreds of millions of Firmament cultivators in the 81 fortresses were also under his command. He would never allow anyone to ruin all of this. Aside from the Luo River, I should think of a way to deal with those heavenly executioners and the former sovereign personage's personal guards. The Heavenly Yellow Tao Lord recalled the scene when the Heavenly Executioner protected Chu Kuangren. His aura instantly suppressed the other Tao Lords. It made him even more restless. Once the Heavenly Executioners fully recovered their strength and joined forces with Luo Shui and the Tao Master of Chaos, he would have even less of an advantage. They might be the best weapon against the Heavenly Executioner. The Heavenly Yellow Path Master murmured as he gazed at the distant Firmament Star. The other side. Within Fortress 31. In the general's manor, Chu Kuangren was sitting with his legs crossed as he tried to gain insights on the heavenly punishment Taoist pattern that had been fused with the Sky Natural Dojo's Taoist pattern. The Sky Punishment Tao pattern was even more perfect than before, and it gave him a feeling that it was closer to the mysterious heavenly Tao. The power of the heavenly Tao. Interesting. The state I was in earlier was connected to the heavenly Tao, and it was as if I'd become one with it. Let's call it the unification of the Tao state for now. Once I enter the unification of the Tao state, I'll borrow the power of the heavenly Tao. To what extent will my combat strength reach? Chu Kuangren was secretly looking forward to it. The unification Tao state, the ultimate profoundness, the immortal stellar physique. Time halt. Chu Kuangren had too many trump cards at his disposal. He felt that even a Tao master could be killed by him. I really want to fight with a Tao master. Chu Kuangren was eager to try it out. As for the Empyreans, they were no longer a threat to him. At this time, the communication artifact at his waist suddenly vibrated. A message came in. Oh, it's Moonless Illumination. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. Moonless Illumination was a blood tribe heavenly honorable that he had controlled using the Soul Mastery Slave Seal not long ago. He had temporarily allowed him to hide among the blood tribe. However, at this time he received a message. The Blood King of the White Tribe has issued a kill order for Master. Also, the Blood Tribe is gathering their troops. A great battle is about to begin. There was not much information, but it was enough for Chu Kuangren to take it seriously. Especially the last sentence. A great battle was about to begin. The Blood Tribe was going to make a big move. Dong dong dong, just when Chu Kuangren was deep in thought. Suddenly, the sound of a bell rang in the stronghold. His eyes turned cold. This bell is the precursor to the Battle of the Crimson Firmament. The Battle of the Crimson Firmament. This was the cruelest battle in the extraterrestrial battlefield. It was also the battle where the Blood Tribe gathered their troops and launched a large-scale invasion. Each Battle of the Crimson Firmament was a disaster for the Firmament Star. The number of cultivators who died was in the hundreds of millions. In the past 10 or so years, there had only been 7 battles of the Crimson Firmament. According to incomplete statistics, the number of Firmament Star cultivators who died in these 7 battles was as high as 120 billion. Now, the 8th battle of the Crimson Firmament was about to begin. The real battle is coming. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath. When he walked out of the room, he saw that every soldier in the general's residence had a serious look on their faces. There were also some new soldiers who looked a little scared. In the main hall of the general's residence, the newly appointed General Luo Shui was holding a military conference with the generals of the other 80 strongholds through some kind of communication method to discuss the next defensive arrangements. The conference lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Luo Shui sat on the chair with a headache. I've just been appointed and I'm already in the middle of a battle of the Crimson Firmament. I'm really lucky. At that moment, Chu Kuangren walked in. How's it going? This battle is inevitable. Make your preparations. I've already sent the various commanders to deploy their troops. The preparations for the other fortresses are almost done as well. Luo Shui said calmly. How many of the Blood Tribe are here? This is the image from the front line. Luo Shui flicked his finger. A speck of light flew out and transformed into a light screen. In the light screen, there were battleships neatly lined up in the cold and silent universe. There were so many of them that they were uncountable. From small battleships that were a few hundred meters long to large battleships that were tens of thousands of meters long, there were at least hundreds of thousands of them. The number of Blood Tribe cultivators on board was even more uncountable. This is only the vanguard of the Blood Tribe. We don't know how many more there are at the back. This battle is going to be tough. Luo Shui said with a serious look. When will they arrive? In 10 days. Fort 31. Countless cultivators gathered at the edge of the fort's barrier. Luo Shui was the one leading them. Her emperor's thoughts surged and she had already sensed that the Blood Tribe's troops were a few 100,000 kilometers away from the fort. This distance was very close. Some emperors and heavenly honorables could cross that distance in a few breaths. Beside the Luo River, Chu Kuangren had also sensed the approach of the Blood Tribe cultivators. He suddenly had an idea and chuckled. Empress, why don't we give this vanguard troop a big present first? Oh, what do you have in mind? Chu Kuangren chuckled. With a lift of his arm, majestic Emperor's chi surged and he unleashed a palm attack into the distance. The palm chi swept across the sky and disappeared into the void. In the distance, the mighty Blood Tribe's troops were advancing towards Fort 31. Suddenly, a palm chi descended from the sky. Amidst the explosion, a large amount of palm chi swept across the cosmic void. Dozens of battleships exploded like fireworks. Tens of thousands of Blood Tribe cultivators died on the spot. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! One of the Blood Tribe's heavenly honorables roared. His emperor's thoughts swept across the area, but he could not find anyone. That strange fluctuation just now was a spatial fluctuation? Chapter 740. Inside Fort 31. Some of the emperors and heavenly venerables had also sensed the Blood Tribe troops in the distance, and their eyes lit up. They looked at Chu Kuangren in amazement. Brother Chu, I didn't expect you to have such a technique. Normally, the further the attack ranged, the weaker the power. However, Brother Chu's attack did not weaken even when it was 1,000,000 kilometers away. TSK, this technique is just too powerful. This is too useful on the battlefield. Everyone soon realized how powerful this ability was, and Luo Shui could not help but feel excited. What's the limit of this ability of yours? Chu Kuangren chuckled and leaped into the air. Everyone attack me. Everyone looked at each other when they heard him. Luo Shui trusted Chu Kuangren very much. Attack. Since the general had spoken, the others immediately followed suit. In an instant, all kinds of energy blasted towards Chu Kuangren. Sword chi, palm force, saber ray, fire, frost, wind and thunder, dazzling lights shone in the cold and silent universe. Chu Kuangren was enveloped in these lights, but he did not seem to care at all. With a lift of his hand, the spatial conveyor technique and the spatial teleportation technique from the Book of Time and Space were activated to the extreme. Around him, a large portion of the void was distorted. All the energy attacks entered the void around him and disappeared. The next moment, they appeared in the sky above the Blood Tribe troops that were tens of thousands of kilometers away. It was as if a divine soldier had descended from the heavens, stirring up waves of energy storms. The Blood Tribe troops were caught off guard. One after another, their battleships were destroyed and countless Blood Tribe cultivators were killed. D***, this is a spatial technique. Since when did a cultivator with such spatial techniques appear in the firmament star? I can't believe he can do this. This person's ability is too terrifying on the battlefield. F***ck, he's going to be beaten senseless before he even gets close. The Blood Tribe emperors and heavenly venerables were dumbfounded when they saw Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique. This spatial technique must be cheating. Quick, activate the battleship barrier. Heavenly venerables, activate your mini-worlds and disrupt the space. After a moment of panic, the commanders of the Blood Tribe began to respond to this sudden attack. First, they activated the battleship's defensive barrier. Then, the Heavenly Honorable Lord activated his lesser world to disrupt the spatial structure. With this method, they temporarily stopped Chu Kuangren's spatial conveyor technique. However, Chu Kuangren's cultivation level was no longer the same as before. After a short pause, he had already analyzed the spatial structure of the Heavenly Honorable Small World and used his spatial conveyor technique to attack again. Although it was not as accurate as before. However, the vampires were densely packed and could easily hit their targets. Even with the warship's protection, they still suffered waves of damage. At this moment, a cold snort sounded from one of the warships. Following that, a blood-colored spear pierced through the air. In the blink of an eye, it had traversed a distance of millions of miles and was aimed at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren, who was in the midst of casting the spatial conveyor technique, naturally noticed the incoming spear. However, before he could react, Luo Shui had already blocked his path and swung his long saber at the spear. With a loud explosion, the surrounding void was swept up into a violent storm. The spear was sent flying hundreds of miles away by Luo Shui before it was caught by a hand. Unknowingly, a Blood Tribe cultivator dressed in blood-colored robes had appeared in front of everyone with a terrifying aura emanating from his body. A half-step Dao Lord. Chu Kuangren narrowed his eyes. Gradually, figures began to appear behind that person. They were the Blood Tribe's heavenly honorables. These heavenly honorables stared at Chu Kuangren with cold murderous intent. Good lad, I didn't expect a spatial cultivator like you to appear in Firmament Star. If we don't kill you first, I'm afraid the stronghold will be in trouble. That's right. We must eliminate this person first. The heavenly honorables crossed the millions of miles and arrived at the stronghold. Behind them, the countless cultivators of the Blood Tribe also drove their warships and rushed over as fast as they could against the energy attacks. Luo Shui said to Chu Kuangren, "Leave them to us." "All right." Chu Kuangren nodded. He was not afraid of these heavenly honorables and half-step Dao Lords at all. However, he had chosen the method with the least casualties. First, he would deal with the blood tribe cultivators in large numbers to secure the upper hand in this battle. That way, the stronghold's cultivators would have an easier time dealing with them. Boom. The half-step Dao Lord of the blood tribe clashed with Luo Shui. The rest of the heavenly honorables also went up against their respective opponents. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren continued to use his spatial conveyor technique to attack the blood tribe's army from all directions, decimating the enemy's numbers. By the time the army arrived at the stronghold, less than half of the tens of thousands of warships were left. Attack. This was followed by a series of furious roars. The soldiers inside the stronghold rushed out. Warships collided with each other in the universe, and the emperors also clashed with each other. In the dark universe, all sorts of energy lights shone upon each other. It was beautiful, dreamy, and cruel. The war had broken out. Sword Chi clone. Chu Kuangren stood in midair. Facing the densely packed blood tribe cultivators, he used the Sword Chi clone that he had never used before. With his current cultivation level, he could unleash this Emperor technique even better than the creator of this Emperor technique, the Mindful Emperor. Tens of thousands of Sword Chi clones spread out from Chu Kuangren's body and spread across the battlefield. Each of these clones had at least the combat strength of a sage, and they were killing blood tribe soldiers everywhere. Since Chu Kuangren had used his spatial conveyor technique to attack earlier, only half of the blood tribe's army was left. Coupled with his Sword Chi clones, the 31st Stronghold's army had the upper hand. D*MNet. Not only does this guy know spatial techniques, but he also has cloning techniques. These are all great weapons in a group battle. Coupled with his cultivation level, he alone is equivalent to an army. His destructive power is too great for low-level cultivators. The blood tribe's emperors and heavenly honorables were speechless. After all, a war was not always decided by the top combat strength. Low-level combat strength was also very important. After all, even ants could kill an elephant in numbers. If this goes on, our soldiers will all die. Retreat. The half-step Dao Lord of the blood tribe roared. Instantly, a large number of blood tribe soldiers fled in their warships. Run. Where do you think you can run to? Chu Kuangren chuckled coldly and unleashed his mini-world. The terrifying mini-world covered a radius of nearly 1,000,000 kilometers, enveloping the blood tribe's warships within it. There was nowhere to run. D*MNet. The half-step Dao Lord of the blood tribe was shocked. While he was distracted, Luo Shui's saber had already slashed at his neck. Not good. The half-step Dao Lord's eyes narrowed as he blocked the attack with his spear. The saber and spear clashed. However, a huge force erupted and directly smashed the spear in his hand away. This saber had directly chopped off his head. With the death of their commander, the outcome of this battle was decided. Annihilate the blood tribe. Luo Shui roared, and his voice echoed throughout the battlefield. The morale of the 31st Stronghold was greatly boosted. The battle lasted for an entire day. Almost none of the blood tribe troops were spared. They were all annihilated. Chapter 741. General, in this battle, we've destroyed more than 8,160 blood tribe warships and killed close to 120 million blood tribe soldiers. This includes more than 130 blood tribe emperors and 11 heavenly honorables. A commander was reporting the battle situation to Luo Shui. What about our casualties? Luo Shui asked. 167 warships were destroyed. We lost more than 8 million soldiers, 11 emperors, and no heavenly honorables. Even the commander found it hard to believe when he finished. This number of casualties was too low. The blood tribe's casualties were dozens of times higher than theirs. Yes. Luo Shui nodded and looked at Chu Kuangren, who was not far away. She understood that Chu Kuangren's role in this battle was not to be ignored. Without his spatial conveyor technique and Sword Chi clones, their casualties would be at least 10 times higher. Brother Chu's abilities are too powerful on the battlefield. Yes, not bad. Luo Shui nodded. But we can't let our guard down. This is only the vanguard of the blood tribe. The battles to come will still be difficult. The Battle of the Crimson Firmament was a war of attrition. Could even last for decades. This was only the first battle. It was not even an appetizer. Then Luo Shui received battle reports from the other fortresses. Other than the 31st fortress, the other fortresses had also repelled the Blood Tribe's first wave of attack. After all, this first wave of attack was only a test by the Blood Tribe. The real main force had not arrived yet. Even the Dao Lords had not made a move yet. Even so, the major fortresses had suffered more or less losses. The fortress that suffered the heaviest losses had even lost several heavenly honorables, and even the fort master had suffered significant damage. Under such circumstances, the fact that Fortress 31's losses were so negligible made it stand out even more. When they learned that it was all because of Chu Kuangren, the other fort masters were amazed and exclaimed that Luo Shui had gained a good helper. Fortress 31, you have to be careful. Although you have a helper like fellow Chu, the Blood Tribe is coming at you with great ferocity this time. Their next attack will definitely target fellow Chu, the Blood Tribe warned. Luo Shui was in a meeting with the generals of the other fortresses. Among them, the Ghost Blade Heavenly Honorable said solemnly. Luo Shui nodded to show that he understood. In the vast universe there was a huge fleet of battleships. On one of the warships, 13 people were sitting around a huge round table discussing something. These 13 people were the 13 Blood Kings of the Blood Tribe. There were dozens of light screens in front of the 13 Blood Monarchs. The light screens displayed the battle scenes sent back from the front lines. Alright, this is the battle report from the front lines. Now tell us what you think, said a Blood King indifferently. And this person was the strongest of the 13 Blood Kings, Wisdom King. I don't have any opinions on the other strongholds, but can anyone tell me what's going on with Stronghold 31? He actually lost so quickly, a black-robed Blood King said curiously. In the blink of an eye, a light screen appeared in front of everyone. A white-robed figure appeared on the screen. His clothes were as white as snow, untainted by even a speck of dust. His black hair reached his waist, and he was peerlessly handsome like a celestial being. Oh, who's this guy? He's so handsome. I really want to capture him and play with him day and night. The Charm King, the only female among the 13 Blood Kings, could not help but light up when she saw Chu Kuangren's image. At that moment, a cold murderous intent erupted. It came from one of the Blood Kings. A strange look flashed across the Blood King's eyes. When they looked at Chu Kuangren again, they already had a guess. Could this person be the one that King White is after? Interesting. The person who exuded murderous intent was the White King. He was also Bai Juexin's father. Alright, let's get back to business. The reason why the people who went to attack Stronghold 31 failed so quickly was because of this person. This person's name is Chu Kuangren, and he specializes in spatial techniques. Wisdom King told them everything he knew about Chu Kuangren. When everyone heard that, a hint of seriousness appeared in their eyes. If Chu Kuangren's abilities were used well on the battlefield, he would definitely be a huge threat to the Blood Tribe. If it weren't for the Taoist Master, even the strongest Heavenly Honorable wouldn't have any confidence in defeating this person. One of the Blood Kings said. Now that the Taoist Master has taken action, the Firmament Star's Taoist Masters won't just sit and wait for their deaths. I plan to send a few half-step Taoist Masters with the Realm Sealing Seal to Stronghold 31. What do you guys think? Wisdom King said. Oh, the Realm Sealing Seal is a Taoist weapon. Sure. That's a foolproof plan. Humph, I want this person to pay for my son's death. White Corpse, you should join in this battle too, King White said to the void behind him. An ugly man with a pale face and a slightly swollen body walked out and nodded. White Corpse will not disappoint you. Oh, is the White Corpse, the strongest cultivator below the Taoist Master, going to fight personally? Don't let us down. Rumor has it that the White Corpse's body is indestructible, and his physical strength is the strongest among the Blood Tribe. I'm looking forward to this battle. The few Blood Kings sized up the White Corpse with great interest. Then the Blood Kings made arrangements for the second wave of attack. A few days later, the second battle had begun. In Fort 31, Chu Kuangren and the others had also noticed the approaching Blood Tribe troops. This time, the number of warships was more than double of the previous ones. Brother Chu will have to trouble you, Luo Shui said to Chu Kuangren. Alright, leave it to me. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He wanted to repeat what he had done earlier and use the spatial conveyor technique to attack his opponent. However, at that moment, more than 10 light figures dashed towards him. Without exception, all of them were Heavenly Honorables. At the same time, one of the figures locked onto Chu Kuangren and unleashed a punch. An extremely terrifying fist wind swept out. Chu Kuangren shattered it with a lift of his arm. He looked at the figure who had attacked him. That person's face was pale and his body was swollen and ugly. However, Chu Kuangren could sense an extremely terrifying power from that body. That power was not spiritual power or Emperor's Qi. Instead, it was pure physical strength that he was familiar with. Oh, this is interesting. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued. By then, the other heavenly honorables had already engaged the heavenly honorables in the fort. Luo Shui was also facing off against a half-step Taoist lord. However, there were still 3 half-step Taoist lords and the swollen blood tribe cultivator who had surrounded Chu Kuangren. Is this how you deal with me? Today you shall die here. One of the half-step Taoist lords took out a blood-red imperial seal and tossed it into the air. In an instant, a powerful surge of energy spread out from that imperial seal. Beams of light formed around it and intertwined in the void, forming a giant cage-like enchantment that trapped Chu Kuangren within. Chu Kuangren instantly felt that the spatial structure around him had been strengthened by more than 10 times. His spatial conveyor technique had been restricted. That's a Dao weapon. Not far away, Luo Shui's eyes narrowed. A Dao weapon was equivalent to a Taoist lord among cultivators. Its power was far stronger than an emperor weapon. Chapter 742. The realm-sealing seal formed a cage enchantment that trapped Chu Kuangren within, preventing him from using his spatial abilities. On the other hand, a few half-step Dao lords were glaring fiercely at him from the surroundings. Their gazes were piercingly cold, and their killing intent surged incessantly like tide water. Far away, behind the blood breeds, the 13 blood monarchs were observing the battle through certain means. The world-sealing seal is a Dao artifact that can control space. Now, he won't be able to use his spatial techniques anymore. Add to that the fact that 4 half-step Dao lords are surrounding him, he'll definitely die in this battle, said one of the Blood Kings. The other Blood Kings also looked like they had victory in their grasp. Humph, it's a pity that I can't personally kill this person. King White snorted. At the side, the Charm King sighed and said, what a pity. Such a handsome and charming person is going to be gone just like that. Who told him to go against us? On the battlefield, Chu Kuangren was facing 4 half-Taoist lords alone. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression calm. He even hooked his finger at them. Come, let me see what you're capable of. Humph, you're courting death. One of the half-step Dao lords snorted coldly. In an instant, a pitch-black long saber appeared in his hand. He swung it at Chu Kuangren at an incredible speed and arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist was instantly unsheathed. Clang. A stunning sword light suddenly bloomed. Following that, the crowd watched as the half-Taoist lord who was charging at Chu Kuangren was sent flying at an even faster speed before he crashed into the enchanted boundary. How could this be? The half-step Dao lord stared with disbelief at the bloody gash on his chest, and a large amount of blood was spraying out incessantly. He was severely injured with just one strike. One of the half-step Dao lords of the blood beast race roared, besides spatial techniques, this person's cultivation can't be underestimated. Everyone attack together. Open the small world. In an instant, the other 3 half-Dao lords, excluding the white corpse, unleashed their mini-worlds and charged towards Chu Kuangren. However, as Chu Kuangren lifted his arm, an even more powerful lesser world erupted, instantly crushing all 3 of their lesser worlds. In terms of small worlds, none of you can compare to me. How terrifying was Chu Kuangren's lesser world now? His comprehension of the Dao wasn't inferior to a Dao lord's, and his foundation was at the extreme stage of imperial energy. Coupled with the fact that he'd completely refined the quintessence of the secret world, when he unleashed his minor world, not to mention a half-step Dao lord, even a Dao lord might not be able to suppress him. Impossible. This person's strength is far beyond my imagination. The pupils of the 4 half-step Dao lords couldn't help but constrict, and then they madly circulated the imperial energy within them and started to utilize its profundities. Heaven-destroying / thousand rivers shattering star universe. Universe quake. Sky-breaking godly fist. The 4 of them simultaneously activated their strongest profound mysteries. 4 torrents of energy swept out majestically. However, Chu Kuangren did not move an inch from his original spot. He did not dodge or evade the attack. Instead, he gently raised his palm and said, I'll let you all see what's so mysterious about it. Countless Taoist patterns intertwined in Chu Kuangren's palm and formed into a giant vortex. The 4 surges of surging energy were all sucked into it, and the terrifying impact was easily disintegrated. Then Chu Kuangren gently shook his palm. The 4 remaining surges of energy were repelled. The 4 half-step Tao Lords were forced to retreat, and they could not help but gulp when they saw the faintly discernible Taoist patterns on Chu Kuangren's palm. This is the ultimate profound mystery. He has mastered the ultimate profound mystery. The half-step Tao Lords were shocked. The 13 Blood Kings who were watching the battle from afar were shocked as well. However, that was not the only thing that shocked them. They saw Chu Kuangren follow up with another attack. He took a step forward and colorful rays of light circulated behind him. The 10,000 Taoist avatar had condensed. The power of the various Taoist physiques fused together to form a terrifying aura that shook the heavens and the earth. Even the enchanted boundary of the realm's sealing seal shook violently. That avatar had shocked countless people. The 13 Blood Kings were shocked. Even the 24 Tao Lords were shocked. The entire battlefield even froze for a moment. That avatar is a little too strange. Not only that, but it's simply unbelievable. How can someone possess so many Taoist physiques? This is unheard of. Although the Tao Lords had some understanding of Chu Kuangren, no matter how many times they saw the 10,000 avatar, they still found it unbelievable. Now that the half-step Tao Lords were personally facing that avatar, they could feel the terrifying power of that avatar. Die! Chu Kuangren yelled. The avatar behind him unleashed a punch, and the fist chi formed from the power of the various Taoist physiques enveloped one of the half-step Tao Lords and blasted him into a mist of blood. Chu Kuangren was now an upper heavenly venerable. Not only that, but he was also a top-notch upper heavenly venerable. The 10,000 avatars' power that he could unleash now was incomparable to before. There are 2 more of you. Die too. Chu Kuangren's gaze was cold. The avatar then unleashed another 2 punches. Boom. Boom. 2 mists of blood exploded. Another 2 half-step Tao Lords had fallen. Chu Kuangren, hand over your life. At that moment, the White Corpse had seized the opportunity while Chu Kuangren was killing the remaining half-step Tao Lords to approach him and unleash a punch. At that distance, the avatar could not save him in time. Meanwhile, the White Corpse had also raised his physical strength to its limit. That punch was powerful enough to crush a small planet. Just in time. Let me see how strong your physical strength is. Chu Kuangren also unleashed a punch with his physical strength. When the 2 fists collided, it was as if 2 stars had collided. It set off a terrifying energy storm that crashed against the realm's sealing seal enchantment. What? The White Corpse's pupils shrank. He could clearly feel that his opponent's physical strength was no weaker than his own. However, the White Corpse's eyes turned cold. So what if you're a physique cultivator? My close-quarters combat abilities are far superior to yours. At that, the veins on his swollen body bulged like a horned dragon. His physical strength had increased to another level. Do you think you'd have the chance to get close to me if I didn't do it on purpose? Chu Kuangren sneered. Chu Kuangren wanted to test out his physical strength, so he did not dodge the White Corpse's punch. Instead, he used his chest to block it. The White Corpse let out a muffled groan. He felt as if his punch had landed on an indestructible piece of godly metal, and his fist hurt from the impact. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren felt a tightness in his chest as his sternum cracked. However, he recovered in the next instant with the help of the immortal body. Your strength isn't bad. Have a taste of mine. Chu Kuangren grabbed the White Corpse's fist with his left hand and pulled it towards him. Then he punched out with his right hand like a cannonball. Bang! The first punch landed on the opponent's stomach. The White Corpse bent over in pain, his face twisted and his eyes bulged. The second punch landed on the opponent's chin from the bottom up. The White Corpse's entire chin shattered and his eyes rolled back. The terrifying impact caused his brain to crash and he almost fainted. Chu Kuangren let go of his hand and activated the immortal stellar physique to its limit. With a cold shout, he punched the White Corpse's chest for the 3rd time. With a loud bang, the White Corpse's muscles and bones exploded on the spot under the terrifying force that was enough to shatter a star. The White Corpse's body flew out and smashed into the enchantment. The entire enchantment shook and shattered into pieces. The White Corpse was no longer breathing. His whole body was like a pile of white mud floating in the universe. He, who was known as the best physique cultivator among the Blood Tribe, was killed by Chu Kuangren in 3 punches. He did not even have the chance to use his close-quarters combat techniques. 4 half-step Taoist masters had fallen. All of this happened in the span of a few breaths. Everyone who witnessed the battle was shocked. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.